Today, we'll have Alicia's big family Disney World trip at Fort Wilderness. That's coming up on this episode 527 of WW Prep to Go. Hello and welcome to WW Prep to Go, where we talk strategy and ideas for people planning their Disney trips. I'm your host, Shannon Albert from WDWPrepSchool.com. Thank you for being here for episode 527. Today is another trip report, and it is coincidentally another one that begins as a road trip in Pennsylvania and ends in Florida at Fort Wilderness, but the dynamics are very different than the last one that you recently heard. I will get to that in just a minute. As always, a reminder to follow on social media. And if you want to be a guest like Alicia, there's only one way to do that, and that is the SpeakPipe information that's in the show notes of every episode. And if you're using a podcast app that doesn't have show notes, it is speakpipe.com/WW Prep to Go. And based on the voicemail, we book guests for their pre-trip and post-trip if it fits in the schedule. And we fit in obviously as many as we can. So I don't think I have any other admin up front here. This is going to be a longer episode, so I know how much you guys like that. If you want to know the cost, stay tuned till the end because Alicia does share that along with all the different hiccups and ups and downs of the trip. As you know, we all know it happens, and I always like hearing that from people. So here are my chats with Alicia. Welcome to the podcast, Alicia.
Hi, Shannon.
We are talking on Wednesday, July 29th, and I understand you're going to Disney World.
Yes, we leave on Friday, arrive to Disney on Saturday.
Okay, so July 31st. And
Yep.
then when do you get home?
We'll leave Disney on August 9th on Saturday and get home on, August 8th on Saturday and get home on August 9th, Sunday.
Okay, so that would imply that you're driving.
Yes, we're driving and pulling a camper, actually.
Okay, and staying at Fort Wilderness?
Yep, so we're going to stay 7 nights at Fort Wilderness in our camper that we tow behind our truck.
Okay, let's, so have you ever stayed at Fort Wilderness before?
Yes. So in 2022 over spring break, my husband's entire family, who all are campers, which is kind of why we got into camping, decided that they wanted to go to Disney and that, we might as well camp because that's what we all do. And so we went then, and everyone fell in love with it, but really my personal family and then my in-laws really fell in love with it. So we've actually gone a couple times since then, but this is the first time we're sort of doing like a large family group again.
Okay, so let's talk about your family group. Who is going?
So it's myself, my husband, and my 2 kids. I have a 5, almost 6-year-old boy and a 2-year-old boy. Then my mother-in-law, and so my husband's mom and her husband. So they go by Nana and Grandpa. I might refer to them that way. And then my sister-in-law, her husband, and their 2 boys who are 12 and 1 years old. And then my mother-in-law's mom, so like great-grandma to all these kids. We also convinced her to go semi-recently. She went on the first trip, so we convinced her to come back.
Okay, and everyone's staying at the Fort Wilderness.
Everyone's staying there. We have our camper, and then my sister-in-law and brother-in-law have their camper, so there'll be 11 people spread across 2 campers. I should also mention my dog is coming, and then my sister-in-law has 2 dogs that she's bringing.
Okay, 3 dogs. Okay,
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, so 2 campsites, 2 campers,
Yeah.
11 people, 3 dogs.
Yep.
Okay, and is this a first trip for anyone?
No. Well, I guess the 1-year-old.
Okay.
It's his first trip.
Yes, it's his first time doing a lot of things.
Yeah, it's not even the dog's first time. She's been before.
Okay, good. All right, and you said that your mother-in-law's mom was a recent addition, and that feels like it's just so much easier to do when you're staying at Fort Wilderness.
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
the number of people is up to you.
Yeah, exactly. We just said, we're gonna turn our table into a bed. She'll sleep there,
Mhm.
basically have her own room.
Okay. All right. And you had told me before we started recording, I think that you were in Philadelphia, right? So it's not a short road trip. Is everybody coming from there?
Yeah, so I can kinda get into what we're doing on Friday. So my family is going to go to Central Pennsylvania. His family live in Lancaster County, Pennsylvania, so central of the state. So we're gonna make our way there Thursday night, and then Friday morning, we're all gonna leave from there. So that's where everyone else besides us lives. So we're just kind of meeting them there to start the trip together.
Okay. All right. So on Friday, July 31st, everyone starts to drive south from Pennsylvania.
Yes.
Where do you expect to stop, or do you know?
Yeah. So we actually have a couple of kind of services that we use not services like apps and stuff that we try to use to make the drive. So, my husband has made this drive before. My brother-in-law, when we went in 2022, they actually flew down and stayed in a cabin. So this is their first time camping at their camper, in a camper there. So it's his first time making the drive. So we use an app called RV Life, and there's like a pro edition to it that my husband buys. It's like $65 a year. You can enter in your camper like height and weight. So if there's any like bridge restrictions or like weight restrictions, you can also there's a toggle to say if you have propane on your camper, because sometimes if you go through tunnels, they don't like you to have your propane or you turn it off. So he uses this app and it's basically a GPS, but it'll make sure that the route is not going to, not fit your camper. And then it also kind of puts good stops in for us. So when you're towing a camper, we need gas a lot. I think we average about 10 miles per gallon, which is terrible, but that's what the truck averages when you're pulling. So we need a lot of gas. And the gas stations we want to be able to have like an easy access for towing. You can get in and out. You're not going to be blocking the way. And then we still want to be able to like run in and get food. So we prefer Flying J's and Pilots. We also have a Good Sam's membership, which gives us a little bit of a gas discount at those places. So my husband has the entire trip planned out with stops, lots of stops. And what we've done in the past is if we are kind of feeling good, we don't need gas, we might skip a stop. So there's enough stops. They're about a stop like every hour so that we can sort of pick and choose. Depends if the kids are sleeping, if we want to keep going, or if we need a stop. And they're all kind of mapped out. He'll go as far as to go on Google's maps and look at them too, just to make
Hmm.
sure that the app is good. So we do have lots of stops planned.
Okay. Good. And there's a lot of little ones in this group, including your own. And
Yeah.
how do you plan for road trips with little ones like that?
Luckily, they're used to it. Our family's a couple hour drive away, both sides of the family, and actually pretty much this whole group plus a few others just drove to North Carolina in the first week of July. So they're pretty good. I mean, they have a backpack. We're going to pack it up tonight and they can throw whatever they want in there. My older son likes podcasts, like kids, he calls them kids podcasts. So sometimes I'll throw one of those on for him. Whenever
Can
he
you
listens,
wait? What are a couple of examples of that?
there's one called, the one he really, I think is really good. It's called Brains On. And
Wait, say it again.
it's called Brains On.
Brains on.
Yeah, Brains On. Like,
Okay. Uh huh.
it is I guess, hosted by an adult, but she always has a kid guest and they do a great job and they make things silly. So like this morning when I dropped him off at camp, we were listening to How Do Walkie Talkies Work? So it's all kid submitted questions. So it's like kid, you listen to the kid ask about that, and then they're starting to get into the radio waves and all the cool things about it.
I love that. I mean, I wish podcasts had
Yeah.
existed when I was a kid, but I didn't even know they made podcasts that were geared towards kids.
Yeah. There's also some ones where they retell Disney stories in like 15 minutes. So I've listened to the Cars one. I could recite it at this point.
Hmm.
So,
It's
it's good to have
fun.
something new, but that's also a good default if they, you know, want something familiar.
Okay, so on this Friday, July 31st, you all start the drive. You're using the app to figure out stops. And everybody, how is it 2 cars that are gonna be on the highway pulling
No,
campers?
so it's 2 trucks and 2 campers, and then because of the amount of people we have and how many people fit in the cars, I'm driving as well. So my car's
Okay.
coming down. So I'll have my kids, Nana, and then great grandma. And then kinda the 2 guys will be in my truck, and then my sister-in-law and her whole family will be in their truck with their dogs.
Okay, and you'll all stay together on the drive?
Yes, yes. So that first day, we're gonna make it to Santee Lakes KOA, Campground of America, in South Carolina, and stay in our campers.
Okay. In South Carolina. All right.
And for anyone who camps, I'll just point out KOAs are our preference for these because they allow you to stay just for one night, even though it's a weekend. A lot of campgrounds, they want you to stay the 2 nights.
That is helpful to know. Okay, so going Pennsylvania, South Carolina for the night, and then Saturday, August 1st, you get up and drive to Florida, right?
Yes, we'll make it the rest of the way. On my husband's trip stop here, it says it's 1,025 miles total across the 2 days.
All right. So what time do you expect that you will arrive on Saturday?
We're hoping around 3 or 4 o'clock, which I think is check-in. I do expect that as we're driving, if they tell us that our sites are ready, that we probably will have to call them and put our sites together. So we went in 2022, our sites were not together, even though we had requested it, but we called and they were able to move one of us actually right next to the other one. And the other times we've gone since, it was just one camper, but we had preferences and they were always able to accommodate it, except for one time their loop was closed. So we're expecting to call them and just make sure we can be next to each other because it'll be a lot more fun that way.
I guess the fact that you have dogs narrows it down to the dog-friendly loops at least.
Yeah, I think so. We have a full hookup site. There's different like tiers to the sites, and I believe all of the ones that we could get with those are dog friendly, but I might be wrong on that. I know we stayed at two of the loops with a dog before, so
Yeah. I just love the idea of having a couple campsites next to each other and just having that big green pretty space all to
yeah,
yourself.
yeah, it's really fun.
Okay, so then after arrival, hopefully you'll be together, and then what's your plan?
So my husband's probably going to make a run to the grocery store to get some groceries. We'll have food in our fridges in the camper, but they're not full size fridges. So we want a little bit of more uh, food. A lot of kids drink milk, so you can only carry so much of that. We might go to the pool if we have time. We know we have the free uh, water parks, but we're just not expecting that we're going to make it there this time. And we have an easy dinner plan. I think we're doing chicken fajitas that night. And we might do laundry if we already have enough, but really just gonna check out whatever's there. You know, it's been a while. Like I said, the people who haven't been since 2022, they were not able to do as much at the campground, like they were more in the parks. So I think there's more there. There's also a new pool that none of us have seen. So even if we don't go in the water, I think we'll at least walk over it and see it.
Mhm. All right, then what is your plan on Sunday, August 2nd?
We're going right to Magic Kingdom. We kind of planned out our trip, our park days based on the crowd calendar that you guys have for like the days of the week. So Sunday seemed like a good day. Kingdom. We do have lightning lanes already booked for that. And then the 1-year-old is also getting a haircut at Harmony Barber Shop. And I kind of half joke say it's good it's the first day because his hair is pretty long. And that way he'll have nice short hair for the rest of the trip and not
Okay,
too hot.
so were you in charge of making lightning lanes for everyone?
My sister-in-law kind of tag teamed it. So, I did Magic Kingdom. The next day we're going to Hollywood Studios. So those were our first 2 we wanted to book. And then I finished first. So I just grabbed Epcot.
Okay, so you guys were both logged on
Yes,
at
we
the
were both
same
logged
time.
on the phone, kind of talking it through. We don't have everyone because of the age range. As this day and Hollywood Studios, we don't have everyone doing all the same lightning lanes. Like not everyone can ride Big Thunder Mountain. So we had to, our strategy was we just logged in and booked whatever we thought was harder and then went in and modified everyone else. Because we wanted the rides that everyone can ride, like Winnie the Pooh. We wanted everyone to be on the same time, so we didn't want to risk trying to book them,
As separate
separately.
groups.
Right, and then the time's running out.
Yes. And in case it's not clear what Alicia's saying, she booked every single person with the same thing, including the people that can't ride, and then went into those and modified, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. So, like the Big Thunder Mountain one, you would have taken some people out and put them into something else that they want to do. Okay. Got it.
Yes.
All right. Okay. So, and then obviously you'll be taking the boat over to Magic Kingdom to get there, right?
Definitely, yeah.
And do you guys have golf carts?
Right now, we don't. We've never done a golf cart before. I think it's hard with strollers because you need to also bring the stroller with you. So we really did consider it for this trip, and we might still do it. You'll find out, I guess, in that post trip report. Partially because we do have great grandma, and we just don't want her to get too tired, especially with Magic Kingdom, like being our first day. Magic Kingdom is tougher because the boat, of course, we're going to take the boat. It's a great option, but we have to walk to the boat. Every other park, we're going to drive. So, getting to the
Okay.
parks is easy. We just, leave our camper door, go into the car, and head out.
Hmm.
Obviously, if we want to go to the pool or, go down to like the beach area where the playground is and Hoop-Dee-Doo and everything, like we're going to have to walk. But I didn't mention for this day, we have a Crystal Palace reservation. We actually have 2 because we couldn't get them all together. So we have a 12:20 and a 12:25 at Crystal Palace, and the Harmony Barbershop is right before that. So we're gonna kind of all be in the front of the park, do the haircut. Whoever I'm sure not everyone will come watch the haircut, but, do the haircut, do lunch at Crystal Palace, and then at least my family and the one-year-old and his mom are gonna leave. We also have to go back to, like, take care of the dogs, so we can't be gone that long. And if great grandma wants to come back, that would be a lot of walking. So we are still kind of considering maybe doing it at least for like this day and maybe one of our rest days. But as of now, we don't have it booked.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Makes sense. There's a lot of logistics to consider.
Yeah.
Okay. So after your morning of using, it sounds like using some lightning lanes, Harmony Barbershop, Crystal Palace, some of you, including you, are heading back.
Yes.
And then what?
And then we have to be back by like 4:30ish because we have some more lightning lanes to use. And I think that'll be plenty of time. The little ones will also nap. That's another reason to go back if I didn't mention that. And then we are really trying to see the new nighttime parade, at least new to us. And if this is the day I think of any of them, we might skip the fireworks just because I think we've seen them the most. And I didn't mention yet, but my 12-year-old nephew and his mom do have tickets to the very first night of the Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween party on Friday. So they will see, all the nighttime stuff that the party has then. So this is probably our least priority for, staying. My husband also doesn't like the fireworks as much here because it's just so crowded. Here's my dog.
Mhm.
It's just so crowded. It's, you're all kind of packed into one area. He prefers not having to do that. So we might not stay. And also we have a lot to do the next day.
Okay. Let's talk about the next day, Monday, August 3rd.
Yes. So we're going to Hollywood Studios on Monday.
And you already told us you're driving.
Yes. So we'll be driving to get to the park and, we'll have free parking since we are on site.
Mhm.
I'm a little nervous about this day because there's so much we want to do. My 5-year-old's favorite ride is Tower of Terror. So we do have a lightning lane for that. The great grandma's favorite ride from the last time she went is the Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway. We have a lightning lane for that. And my 5-year-old decided that he loves Star Wars now. I think his one of his other cousins loves Star Wars. So I think he's been influenced and he has the lightsaber. And so we might try to do those. We've never done like Rise of the Resistance ever. So we don't have a lightning lane for that. And he also loves Slinky Dog. So there's just a lot we want to do. And so we have lightning lanes right now for Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railroad or Tower of Terror. So you're in one group or the other. And then we have Toy Story Mania and Slinky Dog.
All right.
There's a lot we want to do. And we really do want to see Phantasmic. We've tried, I think we've tried like 3 times to see if something happens every time. The last time meaning me, my immediate family, the last time we even got the like dining packet, whatever the dining, whatever restaurant like you can get seating for, and it rained. So they canceled it.
I know. I think it's a huge risk. I think we
I
can.
know.
It's
Yeah.
either it can rain or sometimes you're just tired and you're like, okay, I didn't anticipate that I wasn't going to make it.
Right. Yeah. So, we'd like to see it. At this point, if we don't see it, it's fine. We'll try again later. But I think this would be the nighttime entertainment that we want to see the most.
All right. And will it be everyday pattern that you and a few other people lead in the afternoon?
Yes. Yeah. So this day we'll also leave in the afternoon, drive back, let the dogs out, let the little ones take a nap, and then head back to the park.
Okay. Any dining thoughts on this day?
Nope. We have no dining booked.
Okay. So
So
you'll
we'll
be doing
just,
quick cook service.
right.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Our first trip we were really into, we needed a dining reservation every day. It was like a good time to like rest and regroup. But since we've gone so much since then, especially this day where we want to do so much, I feel like it is a little restrictive to have dining reservations. So we just prefer to kind of force our own rest and just do quick service.
Makes sense. What is your plan for Tuesday, August 4th?
All right. So this is our first rest day. So we're doing 2 parks and a rest day and then repeat. We do have a Hoop-Dee-Doo dining reservation for oh, no, sorry, that's not this day. That was our original plan, but I think they're closed Tuesday, so we can't do that. So, I think we have no plans, like, no timed plans. We definitely will do the pool. I think my 2-year-old can even do the water slide. I think my older son did it at that age, so if he likes it, I expect we might be going up and down those stairs a lot. We wanna see the new pool. There's the activities calendar used to be published monthly, but now they've published it. I don't know if they do it for all the resorts, but at least for Fort Wilderness, I was able to find their activities schedule for all of the summer, like Memorial Day through Labor Day. And I think there's a Mickey's tie-dye craft, which I've seen people do before. You do have to pay a little bit for it, but we'll do that. We might do the gem mining. We've never done that before. And we'll go to the Circle Ranch. I know it has a longer name, but
Try Circle D Ranch.
yes, that sounds right. We went before, even if you don't wanna, like, do a ride, they will tell you about the horses. They'll be like, "This is the horse that, pulls the carriage, and this is the horse that's the headless horseman," and it's really cool. We do have some kids who are small enough to do the pony rides, which, if they're willing to do it, we'll let them do that.
Yeah, this feels like another day that the golf cart would come in handy.
Right, yeah, so I think if we get the golf cart, like, this would be the day that we keep it in.
Yeah, because every trip report, I'm always picturing, where you're going, and I'm like, oh, you're going all over Fort Wilderness, which is amazing because there's so many things to do. But the
Right.
golf cart definitely makes it easier.
Yeah. I mean, the kids will my 5-year-old will still fit in a stroller, so we are planning to bring our double stroller, so he'll be in that. My 12-year-old nephew, maybe might get tired, and the adults will get tired, but, it's kind of our own doing at that
Hmm.
point. But,
Yeah,
yeah, maybe a golf cart would be helpful.
yeah. It's just such a pretty big resort, and everything's kind of spread out.
Yeah.
So
I also another thing a golf cart would be good for is there's scavenger hunts that people do at Fort Wilderness. So you join there's a Facebook group, I think it's called Original Fort Wilderness Scavenger Hunts. And we basically just find things, take a picture of it, and then people go try to find it. So I just went kind of in my stash of like kids' presents and little trinkets, and I didn't even buy anything. I just pulled a bunch of stuff. So we have a bunch of stuff to hide. We can go find things. My sister-in-law also kind of bought a bunch of things to hide, so the kids have a lot of fun with that. And a golf cart is good for that. I think last time when we were hiding things, we noticed as we were walking away, there'd be like a golf cart pulling up and someone would post on the Facebook page that they found it. Like, wow, they were really fast with that golf cart. So I think it would up our chances of finding things if we had a golf cart.
Yeah, and I'm just thinking too about this time of year. It's just so hot.
It
So,
is.
yeah.
Yes.
All right. Anything else on this non-park day?
We have also never seen the electrical water pageant, which you can see from the beach. So, if we're not too tired, that is kind of on the docket as an option.
Okay. Wednesday, August 5th?
This is our Epcot day. I didn't really mention we're not sure if we're going to rope drop, but I think Epcot we might try harder rope drop one because we'll have had the rest day before, but also because we want to ride Guardians. So I think my husband and I are the only ones who have ridden it. We really like it. My 5-year-old, like I said, his favorite ride is Tower of Terror. We think he'd love Guardians. He is tall enough for it. So if if any day that this is what we would try to rope drop and get on Guardians because we did not buy the individual lightning lane for it.
Okay. So rope dropping gardens and using multi-pass lightning lanes as well?
Yes, so we have multipass. This day we all are doing the same ones. We have Spaceship Earth at 9:10, so it's early, hoping we can get Test Track after we scan in for that one. Then we have Soaring at 10:15, and then our tier 1 we picked was Remy's at 11:10, and that was my sister-in-law and her family have never done it, so that was their priority to get that one.
Yeah. And since you're entering from the front, it's good that you do have it.
Yes, exactly. So that was our plan. Get that one, rope drop Guardians, and hope we can get Test Track.
All right. And anything else before you leave for the afternoon break?
Nope, yeah, we have no dining reservations or anything this day, so, we'll definitely go back, let the dogs out and everything, and come back, depending on how we're feeling, stay for, fireworks. I think Epcot's my favorite, so I like it, but we have seen that one a lot, unlike Fantasmic, where we seem to miss it every time. So, if we don't make it, that's fine because next day is a park day as well.
Okay. What park are you going to the next day, Thursday, August 6th?
So we're doing Animal Kingdom. We did not get multi-pass this day just because I felt like there wasn't a lot of rides that we would need it for. We do want to do the safari. We do want to do Flight of Passage, but that would have been an individual lightning lane. And then, if we don't have that many people who would ride like Everest, that those people could probably just do single rider for that ride if they wanted to. I think my husband did it like and we've gone this. I don't think I specifically mentioned we've gone in August before. The whole group has not, but my family has. And the reason we're so willing to deal with the heat in August is because the crowds and it was night and day from our first trip, which was kind of like spring break crowds. I remember we were like in Magic Kingdom, our first August trip. My husband turned to me, he's like, this is the best time to come. Like, we should come. Like, it's hot. He's like, and I think we were standing in line for the Speedway, which is, very hot with all the concrete and not a lot of shade. He's like, "It's not that." He's like, "Well, we got on this ride in like 10 minutes." I'm like, "Well, that's a good point." So he has ridden Everest 3 times in a row this time of year before, so we're not too worried about the lines. But
Yeah.
yeah,
It's a trade-off, pros and cons of everything, and you're definitely gonna have lower crowds, so
yeah,
that part will be really nice. All right. All right, so you have some rides that are priorities, you're not doing them with Lightning Lane.
right.
Are you guys show people at all?
Depends. I like shows a lot. I think the little kids we have will like shows a lot, and the 12-year-old's not big, like, thrill seeker, so I think shows would be a good idea. They are doing some shows in Hollywood Studios. I love the Lion King show, and I think we saw the Nemo show for the first time last year, and that one was good. It's also just a nice break from the heat. And I forgot to mention, we have the right ages for Bluey fans, so we also will go up to Bluey. I was listening to the last couple, trip reports, and it seems like they maybe have it figured out. I think Mike said that he was able to go, and it seemed like it kind of flowed through correctly and you weren't waiting a lot, so fingers crossed that we have a similar experience.
It helps to be early
Okay. Alright.
because they build the waits just build throughout the day, and then it's weird because then you get there by train, and then you're just waiting for the show before you to finish, and sometimes you wait for 2 shows before you to finish, before you even
Yeah.
get to go in.
Do they have anything else up there still? Like, do they still have where you can view animals?
Yeah, but it's not the petting zoo.
Okay.
it's a walkthrough, like, kangaroo sort of thing.
All right. Yeah, I was a little disappointed with the first ones, but I think we'll try. I did not tell the kids that it's an option, so if we don't wanna do it, if it's just gonna be too long, they won't know.
Okay. That's probably a good plan.
Yeah.
Alright, anything else on this day?
So we are not taking a midday break here. We are just leaving early because we did book Hoop-Dee-Doo for this day. So with kind of where we wanted our rest days to be, and like I said, it's closed Mondays and Tuesdays. They don't do shows, and then Friday,
Mhm.
the day after this will be our rest day. But we have two people going to the Halloween party. This was kind of where we landed on. So we have a 6:15 for everybody at Hoop-Dee-Doo.
Have you guys ever done Hoop-Dee-Doo?
My family has, and my in-laws have. I think that's it. So we think everyone else will like it. So this was something we said, "We're doing this." Everyone said, "Sure, sounds great." I
Alright.
think it's not an every time thing, but again, they haven't done it, and we haven't done it in a while.
Yeah, and it's like, you're right there.
Yeah,
For
exactly.
for most of us, getting to, Hoop-Dee-Doo, it's kind of a chore, but you're right there.
Exactly.
Okay, Friday, August 7th?
So this is our last rest day. It's also the day before we drive back, so it's kind of nice that we were able to make it work that this is a rest day. Probably a lot of the same of what we did on Tuesday, but then, like I said, my sister-in-law and my 12-year-old nephew are doing the Halloween party, and, they're probably I think they do wanna see Jack and Sally, so they're gonna get there as soon as they can and get in line and do that, and she's been looking at, like, the food that they have, so I'm sure she'll have a list and I can kinda get her feedback from it
Mhm.
and report back.
Okay, and are you guys, do you ever visit Disney Springs?
We have it's I mean, we're not my family's not big shopping people, so that doesn't really interest us, and we've gone before. Last time we went, it was really crowded, but it was also spring break time, so that probably contributed. So I don't think we have any reason to go there. The very
Mhm.
first trip we did, the rest of the group did T-Rex restaurant, and my family stayed back because at that time we had only a 20-month-old, and we're just like, "Yeah, he's not gonna care." So we didn't even go that time. We've been since, but I don't think we're gonna make it this trip. We'd rather be at the campground.
Yeah, I mean, it's a destination in itself, so
Yeah.
makes sense. Alright, and then Saturday, August 8th, you start driving, right?
Yep. So we will pack up as much as we can on Friday night, pack up all our outside stuff, pack up the trucks and the vehicle, but we'll have to sleep in the campers. And then you have to disconnect from the sewer and the water and the electric. So, we'll get going as soon as we can and then make the reverse drive back. And I think on the way back, I'd have to check. I think we're stopping in North Carolina. I'll get the name of the campground on later, but North Carolina, and then will be our stop.
Okay, so maybe stop in North Carolina for the night, and then Sunday, August 9th, you get home.
Yes.
Okay, so this sounds like a good fun trip overall. And is there anything about your trip we didn't get a chance to talk about?
I don't think so. There's a couple things like with the dogs. Since we're leaving in the camper, we have a device called a waggle. It's cellular because we know that most campgrounds, but also Fort Wilderness don't have the best like Wi-Fi reception. We don't want to risk, our dog's safety on the availability of Wi-Fi. So you do have to pay a subscription fee to have the cellular, but it's just like a little temperature and humidity monitor that you can leave in your camper. There are newer versions with cameras, but we have an older version, and it'll send alerts to your email, and then it sends so many texts a month, depending, paying with your subscription. So it'll text me, my husband, and my mother-in-law if the temperature goes outside of the range that we set it to, or if we lose power, it'll also send an alert. So that way we just know, when we're at the parks that our dog is okay and that it's not too hot or the AC didn't, shut down for some reason. So that's something we have to kind of help with the dog and feeling okay.
Yeah, that's super helpful.
Yeah.
Okay, I love that. All right. Well, I hope you guys have a good trip. I know you're leaving tomorrow to head to Central Pennsylvania.
Yes.
So safe travels, and I'll talk to you in a couple weeks.
All right. Thanks, Shannon. See you then.
Welcome back from your trip, Alicia.
Thanks, Shannon.
We're talking on Monday, August 10th, which means you just got back yesterday.
Yes. We got back late last night from what was a very good trip overall, though the ending, I think by the end, we were all ready to be done.
Okay. I am interested to hear how it went. So let's start at the beginning. Friday, July 31st, you were starting your drive. How did this day go?
It went pretty smoothly. So, like I said, we were all we're the only family that does not live in the same town that everyone else traveling does. So we had gotten in the night before, so we could wake up. I have that we left the house at 5:05 a.m. on Friday, July 31st. We drove for about 2 hours. We took our first very quick, like this was one of our quickest stops. It was 12 minutes at a
Yeah.
Sheets. Went to the bathroom, got gas, and then we were able to. Got us enough gas to drive about 3 more hours for our second stop, which was another, like, truck stop, but there was a Denny's there, so we did order breakfast. We sat outside because we had the dogs. We sat outside and had a little picnic. So that stop took about an hour. So we were on the road again by about 10:30. We were able to drive until about 1:30, where we did another quick gas stop, and then by 5:20 PM, so about 12 hours from when we left, we arrived at the Santee Lake, South Carolina KOA that we were staying at. We, got our sites and we drove there and we're setting up. There was a slight hiccup because my brother-in-law's camper had there, there's a part where it connects to his truck. So when you're parked and you're disconnected, that part is supposed to have a jack that goes down to the ground just to stabilize it, and it wasn't going down. So there was a little bit of panic for a little bit, but we sprayed some WD-40 that luckily we had with us on it. That did the trick, and it did end up going down. So, that was really the only problem of the day. When we were there, there's a playground that's on kind of like a beach by the lake. So the kids went there. The trucks decided to go fill up on gas so that we could go a little bit farther the next day,
Hmm.
which worked out. And then we had brought some, frozen lasagna for dinner. So the dinner was really easy. We had lasagna. People who didn't want that had hot dogs, garlic bread. We had some drinks if you wanted them. And we were in bed by 10 p.m.
Okay. So pretty good day. Made
Yeah,
lots of progress all the way to South Carolina. All
right.
right. So Saturday, August 1st, you were finishing your drive and arriving hopefully in the afternoon to Fort Wilderness.
Right. So and we did sort of plan that. We figured the first day we wouldn't have to, do the camper, so we did a little bit farther than halfway to get to South Carolina. So
Hmm.
our plan for Saturday was to leave by 8 a.m. So we woke up, people woke up between like 6 and 6:30. With campers, you have to get everyone through the bathroom so you can disconnect all the water and the sewer and all that. So we were able to pull out of the campground by 8 a.m. We stopped. I have that. We stopped about an hour and a half later, again for just like gas and snacks. We're on the road about 30 minutes after that. We almost got to our next stop, which was 3 hours away. We needed to do a quick bathroom break, which we did just in time. It started raining right after that. So we did a quick bathroom break. And then, unfortunately, like 30 minutes later, we had to stop for gas too. But it was fine. By that point, we were in St. Augustine, Florida. So we felt like we were close. Like everything said Florida. So we're like, all right, we're good.
Hmm.
While we were driving, I have at 12:31 p.m., I got my text that our site was ready and we had site 1714. So I don't think I mentioned this. We have walkie-talkies when we're driving, just so we don't have to always like text and call. And the kids kind of think it's fun too. So I walkie-talkied my sister-in-law and said, "Hey, we got our site. Can you check if you have yours?" And it turns out they actually did have the site next to us. So I had said in the pre-trip I was very much expecting to have to call and get moved, but they followed through on the request, and we had side by side sites. My mother-in-law was looking them up, and she's like, they're a little bit far from the comfort station because we had so many people. We kind of were hoping that we could be closer because that's how we were the first trip we were, and it was great that you could just like walk there for showers since we're all sharing. We had a lot of people sharing just a couple of showers. But we decided, they gave us what we wanted, and we would just see how it goes. So we did not call. So we ended up getting to the reception outpost at Fort Wilderness at 4:05. So even though we had done online check-in, you pull through, like, there's big, kind of, I guess, like a arch that you can pull your campers through. They're tall enough. And we, told them we were there. We did, at that point, you do confirm that you have dogs. So we confirmed that we had dogs. And, they told us where our sites were and drew on the map where we would need to go. And I just thought, hey, let me ask this cast member if they can verify that our magic bands are working, because, our great grandma Maul, I'll call her, Maul, had a magic band that hadn't been used since 2022. So she was kind of worried it might not work. And also we had problems before where you need your magic band to lift up the gate for your car to go in. And some people's weren't doing that on previous trips. So the cast member was very nice and scanned all of the magic bands that we wanted. And she said, yep, this one's working. Yep, this one's on your reservation. Like, you're all set. So that was nice that she was able to do that for us. So we kept driving, found our sites, and it started raining, and then it started pouring.
Eh.
So we are, 3 cars. We have all this traffic backed up behind us. We're trying to back into these sites. These sites were very hard to get into. I don't exactly know why. We always have stayed at the full hookup sites. So there's only 4 loops that you could stay in.
Mhm.
The only thing that's slightly different is we'd always been on, like, the outer part of the road, the circle, and these were on the inner side. They are smaller. I mean, for other people, you can get bigger sites. There's preferred sites that Fort Wilderness offers. So if you don't want to have this headache, I mean, maybe that would help. So they were very hard to back into. And while we were, backing in, helping people were getting out of cars to help direct the the campers and the trucks, I realized that my brother-in-law's camper had a flat tire. So in the rain, finally got in. They had to jack up the camper, put on the spare, and start calling and figuring out, where they could get this fixed. So that was, not fun, but
Mhm.
eventually we were set up, and we had, I don't know, I think it was still sort of raining. On the one hand, I kind of was like, I don't want to leave and do anything, but also I was like, it's raining. What else can we do? So I decided I'm going to go do our grocery run. I think originally my husband was going to do it, but I said, I'm just going to go. And I asked my 2 boys if they wanted to come, and they both said yes. So I looked up the closest Publix. It was one in Orlando. It was probably about 20 minutes away, but it said it was the closest one. So I took them. We got all our groceries for the rest of the week that we wanted. We came back. We had chicken fajitas for dinner. It had stopped raining by that point.
Hmm.
And then, we just went to bed.
Yeah, it just feels like the rain really limits your options. Like, you have a camper, so your
Mhm.
pre-trip was like, we might go to the pool, we might do this, but it's like you're
Yeah,
limited.
right. Yeah, we ended up just not even venturing out really once we got to our campsite, besides me going for groceries.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So let's talk about the next day, which was your first park day, Sunday, August 2nd.
Yes. So this was our Magic Kingdom day. It was pretty cloudy. So I think this was sort of a theme the whole trip. It rained a lot, but it never got too hot. So the rain kept things cool, but it kept things very humid. And, the rain does just come into play and ruin some things along the way. So we had sort of decided the night before we would try to get there at 8:30 for early entry. But to do that, we said we should leave by 7 a.m. We left at 7:25. We did not get the golf cart, so we were pushing strollers and walking from our site. Actually, it was a 1700 loop all the way to the marina. I think it was almost about a mile based on our, trackers. The nice thing though about this walk was, I guess, because it was early in the morning and people hadn't been out and about, and we had a long walk on kind of like a main road, is that there's that scavenger hunt where people hide things and post on the Facebook group. We had 4 kids. We found 4 things. So every kid got one thing, and just by walking on the path. So we found little things. So that kept them, excited. So we had left at 7:25. We got to the boat dock, waited a little bit, and the boat left at 8:02 a.m. And at 8:18, it had docked at Magic Kingdom. It did stop at the Wilderness Lodge. So we had one stop in there. And 10 minutes later, we had gone through security and, tickets, and we went straight to the bathrooms. So everyone go to the bathroom. So at that point, again, we didn't really have a super solid plan of why we were going to early entry. We just sort of said, we'll see what it is. I'm like, by the time we had left at 7:25, so there's no way we're making like, Seven Doors Mine Train. That's just not going to happen for a time that we were willing to wait for. So I looked, Space Mountain was a 35 posted wait, and my 5-year-old hasn't ridden that yet. So I said, let's just do that. So the non-coaster people, which of course was the two, the 1-year-old and my 2-year-old. My 12-year-old nephew's not a big coaster person, so he did not ride Space Mountain. Great grandma did not ride most of the coasters. And then kind of the swing, this swing between the groups are my sister-in-law and, the grandpa, because they'll ride some things, but grandpa wasn't interested in riding Space Mountain, and my sister-in-law just was going to stay with the kids. So we got in line for Space Mountain. The non-coaster people did Buzz Lightyear, and they, were done by like 9 a.m. So they went on the People Mover after that. While we were in line for Space Mountain, we had that wait. It was a 35-minute wait as it was posted. I learned that Grandpa would ride Guardians of the Galaxy. Like, he was up for it. And I was like, we're already waiting in this line. Who knows what's going to happen? Let me see if we can book the individual, whatever they call it now, the individual lightning lane. So this was 3 days out. We were able to get a 3:45 p.m. Guardians lightning lanes 3 days out. So for people who do not book ahead, because again, like we kind of were like, oh, I don't know if we want to pay for it. But once I learned he wanted to ride, I said, okay, let's make that day easier. And so we booked that.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was like $18 a person. So we rode Space Mountain. Everyone loved it. And then we were going to head to our Small World lightning lane so we could start getting more. So as we were walking there, I noted that the boys saw the speedway and they were like, let's ride that. So I was like, all right, I'll put that on my mental checklist of lightning lanes to book. We did measure the 2-year-old just to make sure he could ride, because that one has like, you have to be, there's like 2 heights. You have to be so tall to ride by yourself, but so tall just to ride at all. So I was like, let me measure you before I promise anything. So he was tall enough. They told us, oh, you can go park your stroller. We're like, no, we're coming back later. Anyway, so we kept going, got to Small World. It was 9:45 a.m. It was still only a 5-minute wait, but we wanted to use our lightning lane so we could book another. So we all tapped into that. And I was able to book Tiana's for everyone who wanted to ride that. And I got the Speedway for everyone else at 6 p.m. So I just pushed the Speedway out later. You could definitely have gotten it sooner, but just to sort of give them something to do at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
So we rode Small World, fan favorite of the little kids.
Good. I'm glad so.
Yeah. They ended up riding it later in the day. My brother-in-law was like, oh, this song's just going to be stuck in my head. So he was like once and done for that. We got off that, and the kids had also seen the carousel. So we rode the carousel at 10 a.m. We did, while we were waiting in line, see Cinderella's stepsisters riding. So I thought that was cool. We tried to, like, they were talking to the boys and they were just looking at them like, what are you doing? So I thought it was cool because I think we had seen them before, and I hear people talking about it, but it was, it's fun.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, just tell them that you have a brother, trying to like feed them lines, but they just didn't want to talk to them. While we were waiting, that the carousel was a 20-minute wait, which I think it took 20 minutes total to like get on and off. So not too bad. But my 5-year-old started saying he was hungry. So I put in a mobile order for Friar's Nook for coffee, a hot dog for him to eat. And then I upgraded the side to get like the loaded tater tots because I wanted to try them, but the rest of us weren't really hungry yet. So we got off the carousel. They saw the sword and the stone. I said, why don't you guys get in line? So everyone got in line and got the pictures with the sword and the stone while I picked up the mobile order. I should point out my sister-in-law got paid for the photo package. So we were all able to use her. So we were all friends and attached. So she will download all the photos for us. So we got the food, had a little bit of a play a game with the 2-year-old to figure out how he would eat the hot dog because I cut it up and that was not the right answer. And he was screaming, and eventually he just grabs it and shoves it in his mouth. I'm like, okay, so you were just hangry. But, then everyone was happy. So I'm glad we got that food. We did have a lightning lane coming up. I think it was at like 10:30-ish for Winnie the Pooh, but we had the haircut as well. So we were trying to time things out. And I reminded everyone, hey, you can use your lightning lanes like 3 hours from the start time. And we definitely took advantage of that. So that was great to know. I think in prior trips, I just, didn't hear that bit of wisdom that you shared. But this time I was like, remember we have this. So we decided to go do Under the Sea because it was a posted 5-minute wait. So we walked over there, rode that, got off that, and my sister-in-law and her family went to do the haircut for the 1-year-old for his first haircut. He looked very cute afterwards. He looked so different. I will point out, and I should have reminded her of this, they only take cash tips. They can accept tips, but they have to be cash. And so she was texting me. She's like, do they take tips? And I said, oh, yes, but they have to be cash. I remember that being an issue before, but she did have cash and she was able to tip them. But just so everyone else knows. So, we were they had left. We decided to walk over to Storybook Circus. We did stop for a photo pass near Under the Sea because Grandpa and Nana like pictures, so they were taking some. And then my kids wanted pictures, so they got some really cute pictures. The photo pass guy had them do like fish faces.
Mhm.
So those are cute. And they wanted to do them. Like, all right, if you want to do photos, these are going to be the best photos then. So then we went to Storybook Circus. Just my family rode Dumbo. They saw something and they wanted to do it. They saw the indoor playground and they're like, let's go in there. And we said, okay, go for a little bit. A lot of the sections where you climb up top were closed. So you could like climb up there and then you couldn't do the little like walk in the netted rope area. I don't know why. So, but it helped speed up how long we were there. So we got off that, rode Dumbo. And then we were kind of heading towards the characters and the barnstormer. We didn't think the 2-year-old would be tall enough for the barnstormer, but we measured him anyway. He was not tall enough. We asked my 5-year-old if he wanted to ride, without his brother. And first he said no. So we're like, all right, let's go to the characters. Then he said, no, actually, I do want to ride. So him, my husband, and Nana went over to ride that. And the rest of us, you could either, I think, meet, it was Minnie and Daisy on one side, or you could meet Goofy and Donald. And we decided to meet, it was, I think, the Great Goofini and the Astounding Donaldo.
Mhm.
So it was a posted 20-minute wait, and we got in like, there's no way this is 20 minutes, it's way less. But then there was a little, Goofy had to leave. They told us he was checking on Max. And then they said that Max was babysitting, Donald's nephews, and they got into making slime, and that's why they took so long. And as soon as she finished telling us, all the escapades of all these, kids, Goofy came back, and Donald had went to check on him, so they both came back, and we were able to meet. So we probably were in there about 20 minutes, and we had to leave right after that because we wanted to do our Pooh Lightning Lane before our Crystal Palace. So we walked to Winnie the Pooh. The groups met up, so we were all together again. And we used I have it. It was a 10:55 lightning lane. So actually we did make it within the hour. We used it at 11:54. It was a posted 30-minute wait. We just kind of kept walking until we got on. My 2-year-old loved it. He got off and he bought his first purchase with his gift cards. He got a little Winnie the Pooh Pez and then a Piglet Pez. And the Piglet Pez is smaller. So it's so cute because it's like a little Pez dispenser.
Mhm.
He has a little collection going on. So my 5-year-old found it. I'm like, that's perfect. I'll go with his collection. And we used, when we were able to book another lightning lane after tapping in, I was able to get Jungle Cruise for $640.
Okay, so you're stacking for the evening.
Yes, yeah. And we knew we wanted to ride Jungle Cruise, so I was happy that, we got that.
Mhm.
All right. So then it was 12:15 when by the time we walked over to Crystal Palace. So we had a 12:20 and a 12:25 reservation. So when we checked in, I think I meant not to check in on the app because I think you're supposed to just go up and talk to them. But I kind of did it like at the same time. And I just told her, could we be seated together? So she asked our last names, found both our reservations, and she said, yep, you're all set. Just wait a little bit. And it was very quick because I had taken my 2-year-old to the baby care center and wanted to use like one of the actual bathrooms to change him. And there was a line, so I ended up like leaving because I was just going to go to the regular bathrooms, which were across from there. And I ran into my mother-in-law, and she's like, "Their table's ready. You can, we were looking for you because they need everyone to be seated." So it was pretty quick, and the bathrooms inside were fine to change him in there, and they're like right near the food. So we ended up getting seated at 2 tables, but they were like right next to each other. So that was perfectly great with us. This was like our first, close character meet besides the stepsisters, really. So we discovered that both the little kids were a little bit hesitant to be like close to the characters. They might cry if you're close, but they were happy to wave. My 2-year-old would like blow kisses, which was just adorable. And he would say like, bye, Tigger, hi, Pooh. Well, I guess Pooh, they have meeting at the front, so you can go up and see Pooh whenever you want, and the other characters walk around. So we were a little disappointed that, he wasn't like smiling for the pictures, but he definitely enjoyed it. And, he wasn't, you know, screaming, crying when they were close. The only thing that would happen is if a character got close and I wasn't next to him, he would like grab me and I couldn't get up and leave. If a character was coming, I had to stay right next to him. So he needed a little bit of a buffer. But it was very cute. Everyone enjoyed the buffet. We have some more picky eaters, so they really liked just like, all the options that were there. And we were there a little bit over an hour, and then this was time for our midday break. So myself, my family of 4, and then my sister-in-law and just her 1-year-old went back this day. And we made what ended up being a pretty good call, which was to leave our stroller at Magic Kingdom because we knew we were coming back. We also had people there. So we left our strollers parked at Crystal Palace. This did mean we had to carry our 2-year-old and the 1-year-old to the boat. But what it meant was once the boat got back to the fort, we could ride the bus without having to worry about having a stroller. So this ended up working for us. I think if like I was like, well, he won't be able to nap. Maybe he'll nap while I held him, but it ended up being great because then, we took the bus back. We we just got to walk a short distance to our loop. So it ended up working out that we did that. I don't really know why we thought of it, but it ended up working and we ended up doing it again.
What if it had rain? Did you have a rain cover?
We did, yes. So we had put the rain cover on before we left.
Okay.
I don't think I think it had rained a little bit around the time we were at Winnie the Pooh, so we were just always covering the stroller. And I have a note for this that's one of my tips is just always cover your stroller because sometimes we thought we were coming back like right after another ride and we'd find something else to do. But also like it just rains. You never know what's going to rain.
Mhm.
So definitely always cover our strollers. Yeah, so we were back at our campsite. We stayed for about 2.5 hours. The 2-year-old definitely napped. We tried to get my 5-year-old to nap and he wouldn't, but that's okay. And then when we were ready to go, it was about 4:45. So we waited about 5 to 10 minutes for the bus to come to our loop. We actually saw the bus going the opposite direction, and it was the same bus that came back and picked us up. That wasn't always the case, but it was the case that day. And then l- on on the flip side, when we got to the boat, we didn't have to wait. We just like walked right on. So that was nice. While we were gone, the other group did a lot. They rode Haunted Mansion. Then they decided my mother-in-law loves Tron, so does her husband. So they decided they wanted to have my brother-in-law ride it because he hasn't. So they waited the 50 minutes. My 12-year-old nephew did not want to ride, but they just, I think, said, you can wait in line with us. And then he just kind of walked through. They gave him a phone so he could communicate with them and entertain himself. So he was fine with that. And then I think they They came back. They like crisscrossed the park. I'm trying to remember what they did. They did. I said haunted mansion. They did something else. I can't remember what it is. I don't have it written down for some reason. But I felt like they did. They did a lot in the 2.5 hours plus travel time that we were gone. It just was a little bit. My brother-in-law said it was a lot of walking,
Mm-hmm.
which, that happens. So by 5:25 p.m., we all met up at the Tangled bathroom. So we met them there. We picked up our stroller on the way in, and then we immediately split up again. The non-coasters went and used their Peter Pan lightning lane, which we had booked. That was one of our 3 we booked ahead of time, and we took the coaster people onto Big Thunder Mountain Railroad, which we had a 4:45 lightning lane for. So we actually were within the hour again. And that was a 35-minute standby that we got to go skip. We had a slight scare because right before the first hill, we were like up there and it stopped. So we were a little scared that we were going to be stuck there, but it was probably like 20 seconds and then we kept going. And luckily it was at the beginning too, so we were fine. And it was a really nice view up there. I think I did snap a quick picture, and then as soon as I took the picture, of course, we started moving.
Yeah. I was gonna say, best part about being stuck is just a chance to take some pictures.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And then this was like incredible timing. So we got off that, and I said, "It's almost 6. We can ride Tiana's." So we tapped into Tiana's 1 minute early. They so I guess it was 5:54. So it was 1 minute before the 5 minutes. So they have to like push us through, but they were fine with that. And I finally got to ride Tiana's. I have the shirt I was wearing in the pre-trip. It's from Blair Lamb Design, but it says like Tiana's place. It's like if she had a line with like if all the Disney characters had their own store. So I've worn it to the park so many times, and I had a Pooh shirt on in the morning, and I switched to Tiana's, and I was like, I might be jinxing myself because every other time I wear it, I don't ride the ride, but this time I got to ride it, so that was great. It's so beautiful. I was a little nervous because I'm like that big drop with the log and nothing holding you, like just kind of gets to me. But so I was a little nervous, but I was like, oh, it's so beautiful. And then, of course, the drop isn't actually that. You're not falling for that long, I feel like. It looks like it's worse than it is. Part of it you can't see because it kind of goes behind, but it's really beautiful. I thought they really did a good job.
Good. I'm glad finally got to write it.
Yeah. So at 6:20, we were off Tiana's. The other group had reridden Small World while we were, riding the 2 rides because they were done with Peter Pan in time. And then we decided that, we were hungry and we wanted to squeeze in dinner. So I don't know if I mentioned my 5-year-old had described a restaurant to us that he wanted to go. And he said it was like, I think I did say this, it was like a small door that opens up and it's really big and there's seafood. So we realized this was Columbia Harbor House. So that's where we went for dinner. My family shared some food, so we shared like the trio platter and then one kid's meal, and that was enough for us. Some other people each got a meal, and it was a little bit too much. And it was good timing again because it started raining outside while we were in there, and we were, just happy to wait in there a little bit longer until the rain stopped. This was the only time when we got back out, our stroller cover had like blown off a little bit. So one of the seats in like our backpack that we had put on there were wet. So we just were extra careful in the future that we like pulled it down. It could have been like the person next to us pulled their stroller out and it pulled it up or something like that. Then we were able to use our Jungle Cruise Lightning Lane. That was a 35-minute standby that we skipped. We had a really good skipper. I was like right in the front. So when I went to sit down like next to him, he said, that's the sacrifice spot to what once in a lifetime experience. So that was funny. And he told them that there was like snakes in the box. And after we left, my 5-year-old, who's a pretty like realistic, like he's not big into imagination. He likes, like he was pointing out on the Big Thunder Mountain Railroad ride, he's like, those cactuses aren't real. And I was like, okay, just pretend they're real. But he believed this guy that there were snakes in there, like when we got off, because the box kind of like jumped and he lifted up the lid. So he did a good job. He convinced them.
It's hilarious.
And then I guess at some point I booked a Pirates Lightning Lane, but it was also only a 5-minute standby. So we rode that, which is great. Like I feel like we did a good job. We kind of did this whole section of the park, like Adventureland and Frontierland all at once. So we did Pirates, got off that. I bet you can guess what a 5-year-old got in the gift shop.
Mhm.
So we left with a sword. We almost left with 2 swords, but the last minute, my 2-year-old decided to get a little Mickey pirate ship. So luckily, we had only 1 sword, so we couldn't do sword fights. And I point out though, they did to cut the tags off of that, so he could like use it right away. We bought another kind of battle thing later that they did not do that for. All right, and then at 8:30 p.m., we went over to Speedway, and I was able at some point to book everybody a lightning lane for Speedway. Originally, I had only booked part of the group, but we had lightning lanes to use, and there was one available. So it was 8:30. We all had a lightning lane for the Speedway. It was only a 10-minute standby, but we were able to ride, all together. I also have a note that it was like pretty cool at this point, temperature-wise. So it was nice because it was night. So I think if you have to ride the Speedway, ride it at night because otherwise it's
Mhm.
pretty hot. And this is where we made our one mistake. So I really, really wanted to get on the Walt Disney World Railroad this day, especially for my 2-year-old. He had seen it before and we hadn't ridden it like ever on any of our family trips. We got off the Speedway. I'm like, I wonder how long they run because it was starting to get dark. And it was 8:45 p.m. and the last train is at 8:45 p.m.
Mm.
So we missed it. That was just bad planning on our part. I think the problem with it was that I wanted to use it as like a transport. So I was like, oh, when do we need to get from here to the front of the park? So I kind of was like, well, maybe we'll do it at the end of the night. We should have just ridden it like there and back or something and just not worried about where we were going. And also that would have helped. I think another problem was the stroller again. Like if we had gotten on it and we didn't ride it back, we would have to, collapse the stroller. And like this would have been the perfect time because it's not even running all the way around. It wouldn't have taken that long. So I don't know, lesson learned. We did not ride it. So we kind of were like, okay, let's just go. I think we're done. I point out like, hey, we're probably going to hit the Starlight Parade. Maybe we can see it on our way out. We're like, all right. So we start walking. Then we see the plaza. I'm like, hey, does anyone want ice cream? And everyone was like, yeah, sure. So we got in line, I think people got some sundaes, milkshakes. I got the cookie ice cream sandwich and shared it. It is definitely a sharing ice
Mhm.
cream because you get 2 cookies plus all the ice cream in between. But it is very good. And then the Starlight Parade came and they didn't tell us we needed to move from our little spot right outside the plaza because not everyone went in to order, so there was some 2 strollers kind of there. Apparently we could stand there. People on the other side could not stand where they were standing, but we could stay there. So we saw, not the best view of the Starlight Parade, but we saw it. And it was nice because we had never seen it before. So that really worked out. And then again, we said we were leaving, but then we kept walking and some people wanted to do some shopping. So they went off and did that. My immediate family, we like the Mickey shaped Rice Krispie treats at the confectionery. So we got some of those and ended up not getting to the boat until 10 p.m.
Mhm. But you didn't watch fireworks?
No, yeah, we did not watch fireworks. We weren't kind of not really planning to stay for fireworks either because it was like 8:45. We're like, hey, we want to go back. I kind of point that out because like maybe we could have stayed for fireworks if we had like grabbed a spot and maybe the people who wanted to shop left, but it wasn't our priority from the beginning. I think just we don't like standing in all the crowds. And we had another park day the next day. And we didn't want to regret that. We did think actually we got on I probably like the last boat. It was the last boat before the fireworks started. So I kept telling everyone like maybe we'll see them on the boat, which would be fun. So a lot of the group sat up in the front part of the boat that's not covered, hoping they could see it, but the boat goes pretty fast. So by the time they actually started the firework that you could see, I think the show starts and then the fireworks are a couple minutes later, but that was enough time for the boat to make it pretty far. So we could see some if you like turned around, but not a lot. But it was something. And they were still going on by the time we got back to the beach area at the fort, and there were tons of people there watching the fireworks, like on the beach and on the dock. They were piping in the music, but we turned around and like watched the end of it while we were there. I don't know if it was just where we were standing. I didn't think you could see all that much. So that kind of was, I think before I said like that's something we would try to do. And I was like, I
Mhm.
think that was it. Like we saw it from the beach. We saw the last, maybe 3 minutes of it. But I was like, I don't really know if it's worth going up there. And again, there was like a lot of people there watching. So,
Mhm. And at
kind of,
that point, are you walking back to the campsite or taking the internal bus?
we are going to walk. Yeah.
Mhm.
So, yeah, I think it was only 3 more minutes left to watch, but I think we would have probably been like, all right, let's just get back.
All right. So that was the end of Sunday, August 2nd. The next day was Monday, August 3rd, and you had plans at Hollywood Studios.
Yes. So we decided kind of the night before again that we were not going to rope drop just because it was our second park day. We didn't want to like push people too far. So we left the campground this morning and we had some quick breakfast. We left the campground at 8:45 a.m. for Hollywood Studios. And since we were driving, my mother-in-law has this really fun thing that she loves the Disney buses that are wrapped with like the characters. So each trip that she goes on, she'll take pictures of the buses and then she makes them into like a photo album. And the kids like to like look through the photo album. So we were all like in different seats on the bus and we'd say like, oh, you know, there's a Coco one. We haven't seen that one. We try to get the picture. So, and we did this the whole trip, but this was like a nice drive over. So we had entertainment of finding all these buses as we were driving. So that's fun. And they are cool. They're cool that the buses are all different. So we were parked at 9:08 a.m. Security, I noted, did take a little longer with a stroller. So this is where I'm like, we're kind of getting to the point where like, well, we have a double stroller. Eventually we'll get to a single stroller, but I'm like, oh, I'm gonna miss the stroller just for not having to carry stuff. But I started getting kind of hints of like, yeah, when we went back, it was nice to not have to fold the stroller. Maybe we would have done the railroad if we didn't have the stroller. And then like again, security was like so quick for people without the stroller. And then
Mhm.
they were just waiting for the the strollers to get checked. So I just noted that there is a light at the end of the tunnel for the strollers that like it's not all bad. There's pros and cons. And I guess the day before at Magic Kingdom, that was another pro. When we came back in, we didn't have the strollers to go through security with again. So that was kind of another reason that was nice to leave the stroller. So we got in the park about 9:20 and I had mentioned that we wanted to do something in Star Wars because my 5-year-old decided he liked it. So I looked. Smuggler's Run was a 20-minute standby wait. So we went and rode that for the people who wanted to ride it. And then the rest of the group had an early lightning lane for Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway. So they did that. Run ended up taking like 40 minutes start to finish. So including the ride, but it was a 20-minute posted wait. So I think it was a little bit longer. But we had 6 people. So we filled up, the entire ship. My son was a pilot and he really liked it. He ended up ranking his rides later, and I think that one came in at number 3. So pretty high up there. He says he wants to do it again and like switch the roles, like all of us just rotate. And I didn't know a lot about this ride, so we got a rank of pirate. I don't know if everyone gets the same rank or not. Like I don't know, I don't know if it matters how well you do or not. But we're like, oh, well, we did it. I thought maybe you could crash and not finish. So I was just impressed that we didn't crash. But again, I don't know how it works. So which made it more fun because we were just there literally along for the ride. So we got off that. Decided to stop at the coffee shop. It's Saka's Kettle and get the cold brew black calf, which has like cocoa pebbles on top. My husband has had it before. So he got one and my father-in-law got one and they liked those. So then we met up with the group. By then it was about 10:30 and we wanted to head to the Indiana Jones show. So we were cutting it a little bit close because it was like 15 minutes to there. So we were running over, but we did make a stop because my 2-year-old wanted a Goofy hat and he was crying and I saw it. So I'm like, all right, quick, we're gonna just go grab that, which made him happy. Sat down for Indiana Jones. They did the whole like first scene, and then they announced that there was lightning in the area, and due to like all the metal in the showpieces, they could not continue the show, which was very disappointing. We were there a couple Januaries ago. It was too cold for them to do all of the show. So like we've had both, two reasons that we could do the whole show. So then we left and I could tell it was starting to rain. So actually we ran, I like ran out of there with my kids to get them into the stroller. And we were like, let's go over to the Little Mermaid show. Of course, everyone was going over to the Little Mermaid show to get out of the rain. So we got there and they're like, there's a 50-50 chance you're going to get into the show. And then a couple of minutes later, they said, you're in the next show. So we just sort of stood there, didn't know what to do. We thought about going back to the like character meet where they're like in the like Hollywood dresses, but we're like, we have to walk over there. It's raining. It was still like a pretty good wait. So we kind of just stood there until the next show. So it was 11 then. We did not get into the 11:10 show. And the next show was 11:45. So we just kind of waited. My 2-year-old took a very brief nap while I was like holding him, waiting for the show. And then unfortunately woke up when we were in there. Well, he got to ride it, but unfortunately because we really pushed his nap that day. I hadn't seen it. My mother-in-law had, and she would not tell us what it was like. So like I was like, I don't know if it's like a live show, if it's like a screen show. We walked in, we're like, okay, it's a screen show. And then, spoiler alert, there are people there too. So it was kind of fun because I was sort of expecting there not to be live acting, and there was some,
Yeah.
and it was
I
very
I'm
nice.
I think it's hilarious your mother-in-law didn't wanna tell you.
Oh yeah, she's like, I'm not spoiling it. So yeah, she did that a couple times. She's like, few things that she had done and no one else had done. She's like, I can't tell you. You have to you have to learn for yourself. So we were done with that and hungry. So at 12:30 we sat down at ABC Commissary. It was pretty crowded, but we only had to make one lap before we like saw someone leaving a pretty large table, and then we were able to grab one smaller table near there. So there was a good amount of room in there. We mobile ordered our food and picked it up. Conversely to the day before, we actually needed 2 kids' meals, but I just ordered one, and then once that one was eaten up, I went and ordered another one, so we didn't waste any food, which is definitely helpful when you have kids and you never know how hungry they are gonna be. And we left there about an hour later, and we had a lightning lane for Toy Story Mania, so that was our plan. We walked over there, and as we were sort of standing, waiting for all the strollers to be put away and everyone to gather, we heard them say that the ride was broken down. So we said, okay, we have a lightning lane. They're like, all right, it'll be, converted into the multi-pass experience and you can use it when you come back. So we're like, okay, let's try to do the rest of Toy Story and hope that it's done being broken when we come back. So we did Alien Swirling Saucers. Again, not everyone had this lightning lane because if you were a coaster person, you wouldn't. We did offer my 5-year-old to take great grandma's magic band and ride it, but I think he was a little upset that like he's like, you didn't book me for this. And I was trying to explain to him like, well, you're getting on Tower of Terror, which you love, and you're getting on Slinky Dog, which you love. But he got a little bit upset. So um, I think grandma ended up, Nana ended up riding it instead of him. So they rode that. Then we went to do Slinky Dog. And we actually used rider swap for this one because my sister-in-law did want to ride, and that allowed my son to ride twice. So that was her first time on that, I think, and she liked it. And this used to be, I think, my son's number 2 ride. This dropped, I think, to number 5.
Okay. So
Because of
We've got Smugglers Run at 3, Slinky
yeah,
at 5.
yeah. So you'll have to wait and hear where he filled in the rest. So we did that, and, at this point, we still hadn't taken our midday break, but we also were like, what are we gonna do with this multi-experience pass? I forgot this. I was a little bit nervous that we were gonna, like, accidentally use it somehow, especially with the rider swap on Slinky Dog. I was like, "I don't want them to take it." So I did end up using the chat feature in the app to, like, talk to someone. I also was like, "Well, what if it never comes back?" Like, it wasn't very clear to me what rides we could use it for. So I ended up messaging them. They sent me, like, a list of what rides I could use it for, and they, like, told me everything was fine, basically. They're like, "Alright, you still have it." By the time I, like, finished the chat, I think we had tapped into Slinky Dog, so they were, like, extra able to confirm. I think it was really the rider swap that got to me because, like, they had loaded another ride. I was like, "I don't want it to him to tap in and, like, use this multi-experience pass." But it ended up being fine, and as they were riding, my sister-in-law was riding with my son. I had, like, walked over back to the stroller, and Toy Story Mania was back up. So I, like, texted everyone. I'm like, "Hey, come over here and ride this." Oh, and not only were we leaving, they had a Mickey Mouse Clubhouse Lightning Lane, and that was that's a timed show, so they had to, like, be there for that. So I'm like, "If you come over right now, I think we can ride it." So when it was back up, it was, I think, yeah, the wait was over 90 minutes, like, right when it came back up. Maybe it, like, mellowed out after that. But we tapped in at 2:22 and were able to use our Lightning Lane for that. We got off that, and the group that was doing Mickey Mouse Clubhouse went over. They were fine. They made their show, and then we had our Tower of Terror. We decided, because we don't know how long we're gonna be gone, we didn't wanna, go past the 3-hour wait, so we were like, "That'll be our last ride before we leave." So we tapped into that right before 3 PM. The standby wait was 60 minutes. And this, again, prior to the trip, was my son's favorite ride, but he did get scared with the show. Like, when you're in the room and they show it was a dark and stormy night and it's in black and white. I guess, like, again, like, he's like, "Was that real?" So I was kinda like, "No." And he kept asking me when we were in line, "Are ghosts real?" And I was basically, I was like, "You love this ride, like, forget about what happened, like, are you excited for the drop, for the elevator?" He likes that you can see out, so he didn't get too spooked that he wouldn't ride, but he was a little like, that show did scare him a little bit. He rode it. It's still his favorite ride.
Okay, it's number
Mm,
1.
it's still number 1, so that's good that we rode it and we did not have to wait 60 minutes for it, so it was
Mhm,
worth getting that lightning lane for.
mhm.
So we left the park. We again decided just to leave our stroller, even though we had our car this day, again, just to make things easier. And then also it did help us come through security. Well, it kind of helped us come through security. We left our stroller this day. Instead of my sister-in-law leaving, my brother-in-law left with the 1-year-old, and he did bring the stroller for him. So I noted what would have been even another, point for leaving the strollers. We could have ridden the tram to our car if we didn't have the stroller, but since he had his stroller, we just ended up walking with him.
Mhm.
So by 4 o'clock, we were back at the campground. This is, like, really pushing the nap. So my 2-year-old fell asleep in the car and then, like, took a while to fall asleep in the camper again. So we were pushing his limits a little bit today, but he was okay. I noted the group that stayed, I do have notes for what they did. They met Geppetto, took pictures with him. They did the photo pass in front of Runaway Railway and in front of Tower of Terror, again, just for fun. Then they grabbed ice cream, and then they went to see Indiana Jones. So this day, Maul, the great grandma, she stayed as well, and she really wanted to see the show. So they were able to see the whole thing this time. And then they did the Frozen show, and then they went shopping. So they did all of that in, I guess, like, the 2 hours that we were gone. So they did pretty good. 2 shows and a bunch of pictures, some ice cream.
And
While
and in terms of driving, were you parked up pretty close? Or no, you said a tramp, so you must have been parked a
we
little bit back.
Yeah, we were There was a sign that said preferred parking, and we were, like, kinda behind it, but I don't know if the sign was saying, "This is where preferred parking is," or, like, "Continue this way if you're preferred parking." So, I didn't think it was too bad. Again, like, we chose to just carry a two-year-old all the way there instead of pushing the stroller, and it wasn't, like, the worst decision ever, but it wasn't too bad. And then when we came back, we actually got in, I think, the exact same row that we had left in, which was interesting.
Yeah,
Um,
so when you returned, you just kinda drove right back towards the front and found an empty
and
spot.
well, yeah, and they let us. We weren't sure if they would, like, put us somewhere
Yeah.
else, but that and this day at Hollywood Studios, they just kinda let us continue as far up
Mhm,
as we were, and then that was the road that we went down. So, I don't think we were
mhm.
too far. Right before we left the campground to come back, my sister-in-law called me, and they were kinda, like, shopping at this point, and she's like, "Hey, I was looking at, like, options for dinner, and I saw there's, like, not a long walk-up wait for Hollywood and Vine." She kind of, like, really enjoyed the characters the day before and was like, "Would you guys wanna do this?" And I said, "Sure," we haven't done that, excuse me, character meet before and, the character dining before. So and, we were like, "Sure, we'll do it." So, we were trying to figure out, like, how best to do it, and I ended up going on the app, and I was able to book a party of 10 for I think it was 6:30, so, like, less than an hour out, and I figured, "Well, when we get there, I'll just add the one more person." So, that was sort of surprising in the moment, but we got back to the left the campground, went to security. My five-year-old got flagged at security for some reason, and he just walked through the detector, and then they had to, like, go over and ask if they could, use the wand on him. No idea why. We were, like,
Just the
asking
one time.
yeah, just that time, we were, like, joking with him, like, "Did you eat some metal or something?" He was
Mhm.
like, "I don't know what happened." So, that gave the stroller time to catch up. So, it was actually, both the stroller and his fault for making us wait. So, we were through there at 6:30, and we checked into Hollywood and Vine. I told them there was actually 11 people. I said, but, I was like, 2 of them are, like, babies. She didn't seem the most thrilled, so she kinda just didn't say anything, but they did it. And then we went in, and it was pretty empty. Like, I would say, like, less than half the tables were filled. So, that made sense now, like, why we were able to get a party of 10 booked. We got seated. It did take us a while to have the server bring us our drinks, which meant, like, we couldn't go into the buffet line. So while we were waiting for that, we actually started seeing some characters, but it ended up being great. We saw, I think, all the characters 3 times, you
It's because
know
there's nobody there.
right, because there's no one there. So, we would do, like, the autograph and the photo, and then next time we'd, like, do a different combination of photos, or we just wave. It was, again, a little tricky. My two-year-old couldn't leave my side, so anytime I had to get food, he had to come with me, and then we'd run into Minnie or something, and he'd, like, wave to her and blow her kisses, but, like, hug me at the same time. But, yeah, we saw them a lot, and we had a really great server. It was funny, at dinner, my sister-in-law was like, "I wanna get a first visit pin for her one-year-old." And then I went to the bathroom, and I came back, and he had brought all the kids' pins. Like, he brought "I'm celebrating" for my kids and, like, the first visit pin. So she got her pin, we didn't have to, like, stop anywhere. He gave us to-go cups for our drinks, so we could, like, each take a drink to go.
Mhm.
Again, we didn't even ask, but that was really nice, and so we gave him a little bit of an extra tip on top of the 18% for
Good. I feel like at buffets, there isn't a ton for them to do, so it's nice when they
right,
do, like, "Hey, you want a drink? What else do you need?"
yeah, and I left him a cast compliment as well. So then we I had booked a Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway for those who didn't ride before. So unfortunately, because they had already booked that ride, they couldn't ride it again with the Lightning Lane, but we were able to take, like, the babies, the under 3-year-olds, so they got to ride again. So we did that at 8:13 and sent the rest of the group in to get seats for Fantasmic. They did have to sort of like, they struggled a little bit because they were like, "Hey, I think they were, like, 3 people at that point because again we were able to take the babies, and they were like, "We're saving seats for 11 people." And I think at some point they were doing the like please scoot over kind of thing. And my sister-in-law just said, "Oh, they're getting food." And they let them. I think she was a little bit stressed because we got off the ride and we were walking over, then we had to make a bathroom stop. And then I made the mistake of thinking everyone was waiting at the bathrooms. They were actually waiting like, on the avenue for me. So I held everyone up. So we did get there, but it was a little hard to like we had to push through the crowd of where they were sitting people on the right. And also it's a really long walk. I didn't realize how long of a walk it is to get up there. And we didn't have our stroller at that point either. But we did find them and sit down in time for the show. We got there, we were all seated about 10 minutes before the 9 o'clock show. So I had mentioned like we had tried to ride this or not see this show so many times and we hadn't made it. We had even done a Fantasmic dining package and it got rained out. And I really loved it. I think the other shows I think are like people love them because they're like the parks shows. But this one I felt like it was all the Disney movies. Like if you just loved Disney movies, it was like made for you. And they did the the Frozen song and then the like Moana's like Finding Her Way song back to back. And like those are my two like most emotional songs. So I was like, "Oh my gosh, like this is so good." The only things that my 2-year-old got really scared when they do like, Mickey's imagination brings out all the villains. That really scared him. He was like moving my hand to cover his eyes for him and like covering his ears and he would like check back every once in a while to see if it was done and then, hide himself again. He didn't cry, but it did really kind of scare him. And then nobody liked the smell when they like pop the like colorful fire and it really smells bad. And everyone started coughing. So those are the only two downsides for certain people of the show. But otherwise, I thought it was really good. I was really happy that we got to
I'm
see it.
I'm so glad you finally got to see it. When you were talking
Yeah.
about Indiana Jones, I was like, "Oh gosh, I hope that the same thing doesn't happen with Fantasmic," because it
Yeah.
is common there to be affected
Yeah.
by weather.
Yeah. I don't know. I might have said we're staying for the next showing if we missed it, unless the weather was looking bad. Yeah. So after that, we my sister-in-law and her 2 kids, mainly my older nephew, he wanted to ride Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway again, and she was looking at the wait times, and she's like, I think we should just run over and do it," because I don't think I mentioned this, but we had ended up booking, I think it was an like, 850 on roller coaster for just my husband, myself, and my brother-in-law. We were the only 3, like, willing to go on it. So they knew they had to wait a little bit for us. So we kind of got off, left Fantasmic, walked all the way back. We went to do that, and she ran over with her kids to do that. We rode Rock and Roller Coaster. It was the first time I saw it with the Muppets. I really like just the ride goes so fast. It's so fun. I again, like sort of like Tiana's, I get really nervous because they do the countdown and then it goes so fast. But it's like before you even go into the loop, I'm fine. Like as soon as the speed kind of gets there, and I would say to people who don't like loops, it is a loop, but you're going so fast. Like I almost don't register that you're upside down. I more register there's like a little barrel roll later. Like that feels more upside down to me. So for what that's worth for people who don't like loops, I don't think you really feel it, at least the true loop. So we got off that and met up with everyone else who wasn't riding a ride. And my sister-in-law like still wasn't back. And then I get a call from her and she's like, "We're stuck on the ride. We're like in the first room." She's like, "A bunch of cast members just kind of ran past us." And she's like, "They looked frantic." I was like, "Okay, I think I'm like, calm down, you're okay." And I told her, I said, some people like this is on their Disney bucket list to get like evacuated from a ride. I'm like, if you get evacuated, like it's not on your bucket list yet, but put it on your bucket list and check it off right now. So I think, they ended up they were stuck for a while. We got a lot of texts, but the ride ended up, finishing and they were able to ride the rest of it. And then of course they gave them a lightning link, like a multi-pass experience, but it was booked for the next day and we weren't going to a park the next day. So she got off that. I had found the guest services at the front. So she went, kind of walked over there, and there was a pretty long line. Again, I don't know if it was because everyone who was on that ride was asking her things. It was the end of the night, so maybe other people were trying to figure things out. She'd have to wait a little bit, but they were able to push it out a day. So she had said at the ride, she had told the cast members that, I'm not going to a park the next day. Can you push it to the next day? And they had said, we can't go to guest services, but guest services was able to move it. So now she has her and her son might have that extra lightning lane for Epcot for
Which
their
which is
struggle.
good because he loved it so much, so
Yes,
that makes
yes,
sense.
it was totally worth it for them to ride it, and we still got out of the park by 10:40. I mean, not still, but we got out of the park by 10:48, and everyone was fine. It was not too bad.
All right. That was the end of your second day then. All right. So after 2 park days, you had a non-park day scheduled for Tuesday, August 4th.
Yes. So we kind of slept in however long we wanted to. We had breakfast and stuff at 9:30. My mother-in-law and great grandma were very nice, and they went over and started some laundry for us at the comfort station. They told me it was $3.50 per wash or dry cycle, and they do take card, so that it's pretty easy, but that's the cost if anyone's curious. My 5-year-old didn't eat any breakfast, and we ended up taking his temperature and realized he was sick. So on the one hand, at least it was not a park day, but obviously, we're like, oh. And the day before, the 2 days before, he wouldn't nap when we took the rest. Like we did bring him back and said like, hey, you really should nap, and he didn't. So we were like, oh, we really should have taken those naps. So that was a little bit, disappointing for everyone. He quickly, like after we took his temperature, gave him some medicine, he fell asleep. And we were kind of like, oh, well, what do we do now? But I looked at the activity sheet, and from 10 to 11 a.m., there was a build your own button. So we took the other 3 kids over, my sister-in-law and I, and we got there 10 minutes before they were done, but they had no problem with that. It was only $1 per button. And for anyone who has discounts, they asked if we had any discounts. So you would have gotten a discount too. And it's just like a little piece of paper, you color it, and then they have a nice machine that like presses it into one of those pins, just like the first visit pin. It's just a little pin. So, I mean, very cheap and cute. And we made one for my 5-year-old, so he didn't, if he wanted one later. I don't think he really said much when we gave it to him, but he had one. And they also advised us, like in that same area where the bike barn was, there was Chip and Dale would be walking around from 5 to 5:20, and then again at like 6:30. This is all like before the Chip and Dale campfire. So that was good to know, though we did not end up ever seeing them on our trip. But we had seen them before walking around, and I just had thought it was like on previous trips, seen them walking around. And so I had thought it was just sort of a random pop-up, like we were lucky, but I guess it's nice to know that it is scheduled. So you could intentionally, run into them wandering around. And they said that they would take pictures at that point, because at the campfire, they don't really stand for pictures. They have a plan. They're doing things. And so we did the buttons. We walked through the store. We had also seen at the bike barn, there was a little prop of Chip and Dale. And it says, if you find this photo prop at the campground, take a picture with it, bring it back to the bike barn, that you would get a pin for that. So we took note of that. We did find them in the Meadows store, but we were like, oh, we'll go back later to do it. So we took the picture of that. And then we finished at the store and we walked back. We did bring some of our scavenger hunt things to hide, so we kind of hid those whenever we found a spot along the way and kind of looked for some things. And when we got back, we changed and took everyone to the pool. My 5-year-old said he felt better and he didn't have a temperature. So we said, do you want to come to the pool? And he said, yes. So he did come to the pool, and they had just started like the pool games. So they first played a round of like Mickey Says, which is basically Simon Says. And then they were going to do duck races. They had all the kids in line to like pick a duck for this duck race. And it started thundering. And they made the announcement that the pool was closing. And they kind of just like stopped and left. And the kids were a little disappointed because they had said like there was once you got, out of the duck race, I guess, come up for a prize, like everyone gets a prize. So they were kind of like, do we get our prize? And I was like, I don't think so. Like, I think they just kind of have to like, we need to leave. Like, we're at the pool, we need to go. So unfortunately, we had to leave. Then we got back and the kids napped. Turns out my son really wasn't better. He probably shouldn't have gone to the pool. We were kind of led astray by the medicine. So he just sort of like laid low for the rest of the night. We had bought stuff to make like a surf and turf dinner. So we did that between like the rain. There was lots of rain going on during all of this. There was still thunder, so we like did not go back to the pool. We did not go back to the bike barn to show them our picture or see Chip and Dale. We didn't go to the campfire sing along because we didn't know if it was happening. And we really just didn't leave the campsite the rest of the night after that. So on this rest day, we did, one activity and we did the pool. So not terrible, but like I think I had a lot more plans, but we still had our other day. So it was
Yeah.
fun. And it was a rest day. And my 5-year-old really needed it. So that
Yeah.
was,
Sickness and weather can definitely change things. And
yeah.
perfect example.
Yep.
So, okay. All right. Then are you ready to talk about the next day, which was back to the parks?
Yeah.
Wednesday, August 5th. You have plans at Epcot.
Yes. So we woke up. It was, again, the rain had made it kind of cloudy and cool. It was only like in the 70s when we left this morning. So we were eating breakfast. My son wanted to hide some scavenger hunt things, so we like hid some close by. And then we got in the cars and left at 8:35 a.m. for the park. I noted again it was like very wet, very cloudy that day. We got in at 9:23 to Epcot. We took a photo at the front of the park. It was kind of like our first group photo. And then we had a lightning lane for Spaceship Earth. So we wanted to tap into that right away. And it was like a 5-minute wait. It was like right after 9 when the park had opened. But we tapped in and Test Track was already gone. Like we could not book Test Tracks. We had used our tier 1 on Remy's because that was our priority. Remy's was still available. So like again, in hindsight, we just really didn't want to miss Remy's. That was like my sister-in-law's family hadn't ridden it and they really wanted to. But I guess if you didn't have a lot of flexibility, like Test Track was like necessary. It was, not even a half hour into park opening and it was gone. I saw someone post on the Patreon that they used Weight Magic to get like everything in Epcot. So I'm like, I think next time I might try to learn that because there was just no way we were getting everything
Mhm.
for Epcot with
And
like
And Weight Magic was created by the people that did Thrill Data, and you can also look at Thrill Data ride drop times if you want to get really analytical about it and like,
got
okay,
it.
what has same day drops, what doesn't, what sells out,
Right.
you can really
But
get
yeah,
so granular with it.
right. And again, like had we looked at when things sell out, like Test Track would have probably been our priority for our tier 1, but
Mhm.
I don't know. And in the back of my head, I'm like, see, I'm glad we booked the individual one for Guardians. So at least we knew we were going to ride that.
Yeah.
So we rode that and rode Spaceship Earth. We got off that. We looked and saw that the Seas with Nemo and Friends was only a 5-minute standby. So we kind of walked over in that direction, parked our strollers. That entire ride, like we were from waiting in line to getting out of the line was only 14 minutes. So very quick. And then we were in the aquarium. We went upstairs. We tried to see the manatees, couldn't see them. So we went downstairs, finished seeing the manatees, did everything there. And then there was like a class or like a camp trip, I guess, that was all sitting and waiting for something. And then they announced that there was going to be a scuba diver exhibit in like the like column of water there. So we sat down and watched that. And that was pretty cool. They like literally fill it up with water and they have a diver like going up. I guess it's a diver, not a scuba diver, but like she goes up. They show the kids the hand signals for how they say they're okay, and they go up and down, and they talk about why you don't want to put plastic bags in the water, and it was pretty cool. So
Mhm.
and we were like right in the front for that. Watch that. I asked if they wanted to do Turtle Talk with Crush, but didn't we wasn't getting a lot of interest. So I said, okay, let's just go. And we did the Moana Journey of Water while we were there. It took us about 10 minutes, like just to walk through. And, the kids did get a little bit wet, but they dried off, so it's okay. And then kind of again, like I was trying not to crisscross the park too much because I feel like this is where I kind of get down on Epcot because I feel like I spend my whole day walking. So, all right. So we did kind of the seas. We did Moana, so we didn't have to come back for it. So like now that's done. And then like we went over to the land pavilion. So we did have a lightning lane for Soarin'. It was it switched from 25-minute standby to 45-minute standby as we tapped in. And this rider swap is different. They did present two options to us. So one was the normal option where they give the second rider like an extra lightning lane, and then you can come back. They said, or you can all wait in line together. I got a wristband to show that we needed to do rider swap, and we got to a certain point in the line. A cast member saw my wristband. He like pulled us, like let us go through, and there's a room that you wait in. So my sister-in-law and I waited with the two little kids. Everyone else rode, and then when they're done, there's a exit like sign and then a rider swap sign. So they go into the room where we are, and then you just have to wait for a cast member to come and collect you. So that was nice. I think I don't know if any of the babies slept, but like they definitely were like falling asleep. So it's like a nice dark room. And then we were able to immediately ride again. And then I noted that when you leave that room, you're going to be in boarding group C, which puts you on the left of the ride, and they file you in order. So we were all the way on the left. So if I had known, maybe I would have like let some people in front of us so we would be more center for the ride. But we were like the first row. So when you go up, we didn't see anyone's feet dangling. So we had that advantage. So again, for those people who it matters, like maybe let, I don't know, 6 to 10 people in front of you, and then maybe you'll get there. Don't let two people in front of you because then you'll be in the second row. But you know where you're going to be seated for them. So I just wanted to point that out. And we rode that. It was, of course, the Soaring Across America, which it was just fun that it was something different. I felt bad though. I didn't know where everything like where we were. So
I
I
know, I'm like, they need labels.
yeah, so I was like I mean, I feel like I should know America better
Mhm.
than the world, but in the world I knew where everything was, and this I'm like, where are we? Where are we going
Yeah.
over? Like
Well,
to
I think
some
some
national park.
scenes feel like they could be in one of 10 places. So
Right.
it's like, what exactly is this I'm looking at?
Yeah, I definitely looked it up after. I was like, oh, we were already in LA before the Hollywood sign. Like I didn't realize it was. I was like, I just thought it was a city. I don't know.
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah, labels would be nice.
Mhm.
But I mean, I'm also like, I've lived here my whole life. If I was an international traveler, I think I would be even more interested to know like where we are.
Mhm.
But again, it was nice that we got to ride it when it was something different. So that whole like rider swap with everything in Soaring, it did take us 45 minutes from start to finish. We got off that, and we had gotten a living with the land lightning lane. So that was a 30-minute standby, and we were a little bit early. And here's where we kind of made a mistake that we didn't realize. We tapped in early, and it used that Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway lightning lane that my sister-in-law and my nephew had. So she pretty quickly realized it. And as soon as she did it, I was like, oh, yeah, they had told us that with the Toy Story Mania. They said, don't tap in early to any of your other lightning lanes, but they didn't remind her of that when they gave her this like special one for the ride breaking down. So I said, I'm sure they can fix it. Like, but I kind of was like, oh, I should have thought about it, but like And it did turn like, turned blue and they had to like tap through, but I should have noticed my nephew's didn't turn blue. Like his just went through. So little snafu there, but we, right after this, we did go to guest services and they were able to give it back to them.
So I
Um,
think I might have been thinking if they gave me an Anytime at Hollywood Studios, I wouldn't be thinking about it at Epcot.
right, exactly. That's why I said, even if they had told her, I don't know if we would have remembered at that moment. Again, like I was just like, we're in the land. We're being so efficient. We're like, let's get on this next ride. Oh, we were a couple minutes early. I'm sure they'll let us in.
Mhm,
And we really only had to wait like 2 more minutes. But again, like you said, I don't know if even if they had told us, we would have thought about it. And again, it was fine. She fixed it right after. So when we tapped into Living with the Land, I just booked Figment. At this point, we were kind of like, there's not a lot left that we were for sure wanting to ride. So we booked Figment in case they wanted to ride that. We picked up the strollers and we started heading towards France to ride our Remy's Lightning Lane. So we tapped into that at 12:43. The standby was 55 minutes. So good that we had the Lightning Lane we were on in 5 minutes from tapping in.
mhm,
And after we tapped into that, I booked Pixar shorts for around the same time as Figment, just figuring again, like it's there if we want it. We got off Remy's and we waited in line to get crepes there, which we had never done before, just like the walk-up window, and they were very good. My family got the like hazelnut one, which was good, but my great grandma Maul, she got the strawberries one. I think that was the favorite. Like she couldn't finish it on her own. It was very big. She loved it. And she even mentioned on the car ride home, like that was a really good crepe. So she let us finish it off for her, and I think I would get that one the next time. Nana and Grandpa got one with the gelato on it, and they were a little disappointed with how small the like scoop of gelato was, and there's nothing in the middle of the crepe. It's just like on top. So they're big ice cream people, so they were just like, oh, well, look at the one with ice cream, but it is not a lot. I'm sure it's proportional to the crepe, but it's also like if you're expecting it to be your ice cream treat, it's not quite enough.
mhm.
So we were, ready to head out for our break, but we were gonna like we hadn't had a full true lunch. We kind of just had like our little dessert. So I set up a mobile order for fish and chips from the Yorkshire County Fish Shop to catch on our way out. So we kind of walked out that way. I noted my 2-year-old kept chanting that he wanted mac and cheese. And we had mac and cheese back at the campground. And I was like, I did look up to see if there's anywhere I could mobile order it like along the way. And there just really wasn't. So like every few steps, he would be like, mac and cheese. And I'm like, soon, soon, soon. So he really wanted his mac and cheese. We went back to the car. We were back at the camper by 2 o'clock. I made them bluey mac and cheese that we had. So that took a little bit of time to, boil and make. They ate, they were very happy. And they both took naps, 45 minutes later after we got back. So this was a pretty long, rest. In the end, even though we were trying to make it quick, we were at the camper again for about 2 hours, 15 minutes, and then we left to go back to Epcot. We got back to the park at 4:40 p.m. We had our Guardians Lightning Lane, so we just kind of had everyone find us there. This day, they didn't. They did a lot of shopping while we were gone. They did end up using the Figment Lightning Lane, but not the Pixar Shorts one. No one ever ended up using that one. They also met Figment after the ride, I think.
Can I
Nana's a
ask
big fan
how
of
your
Figment.
Can I ask how your 5-year-old was feeling?
Yeah, he was better. I mean, I think he did nap this day,
Mhm.
so I think he still kind of had the after effects, but he did not have a fever that morning. And that was really his only symptom. Like he had a fever and he was tired. The day that I recorded the pre-trip, which was I guess 2 days before we left, I actually had to like go pick him up from his summer camp because he said he threw up, but the counselor like couldn't verify it. He wouldn't he said he didn't throw up any food, so I was like, I don't know. He had like a runny nose, so I like maybe you just threw up like some saliva or something. So like again, I mean, you never know with kids what they have. Maybe it was the same thing from then, and it just like caught up to him with the lack of, sleep and all the heat and the walking around. Like we really did just push on him, like, hey, when mom and dad say you need to eat or drink or nap, like we're not just being mean. Like we don't want you to get sick again. So we forced him to nap this day, and I think we stayed until he woke up from his nap. We were like, we're not going to wake him up. So we did wake up the 2-year-old, but we didn't. We were like, just sleep. He took a while to fall asleep, but we're not going back to Epcot until you fall asleep. So yeah, and he ended up being okay the rest of the trip.
Okay. So then how did the evening at Epcot go then?
Yeah, so we got back. We got on Guardians. It was a 95-minute posted wait. It took us a while to get through, and we missed the second pre-show, which was kind of funny because we were in the first pre-show, and then they said one of their you know, themed messages that like the power was out and something was down. So we thought the ride was down. And we're like, oh my gosh, we paid for this individual lightning lane. We're not going to get to ride. And we were walking out, and I was kind of like, we were sort of like joking with my brother-in-law because like we hadn't ridden anything like super thrilling for him, I guess, at Epcot yet. So he was like really looking forward to this ride. And we're like, oh, you like jinxed us or something. And a cast member heard us, and she's like, you're still going on the ride. And we're like, oh, okay, good. So we missed, which was a little unfortunate. So this is where I gave it back to my mother-in-law. She has not been on this ride, and she has also not seen Guardian of the Galaxy, and I like wouldn't tell her about the ride. So she was starting to get nervous. But I think like the second pre-show, I mean, kind of gives you context on like what's going on. So like everything seems fine, and the second pre-show, like things start going wrong, and then that's why you're like, going away. So I don't know, we missed that context. And again, it still took us a while. I know the pre-shows kind of make it take a while, but it took us like 40 minutes to get through, even with the lightning lane. But we were still able to ride. So that was nice because we were like thinking we weren't going to ride for about 2 minutes. And we got one way or another. And it was like, I was smiling the whole time. I was like singing the song. I had my hands up. Like, I felt like a kid, and it was just so fun. This is the only second time I've ridden it, but it's such a fun ride. It's my husband and I's number one ride, and it's my 5-year-old's number two ride.
Okay. So Tower, and then Guardians. Got it.
Yes. So this push down Slinky Dog, one of the rides, a push down Slinky Dog.
Mm-hmm.
Smuggler Runs was 3, so that push down Slinky Dog 2. And it was just so fun. So again, I said, mother-in-law Nana, she was the one who was nervous for the ride. She did end up liking it. Grandpa does not like going backwards, but again, he was the one who said he was willing to ride. The whole reason I booked the lightning
Yes.
lanes, and it got to him, the motions. So he was motion sick afterwards. I think again, same as anyone, I'm sure he wishes he didn't get motion sick. So I don't think he like hated it, but he was not feeling the best afterwards. So we made sure we got the picture, the photo pass picture after there as the proof, because he's like, my mother-in-law was like, this is it. This is the only time he's going to ride it. We have to get the picture. So we got the picture. So he was the only one who was affected by it. Everyone else thought it was fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
One and done.
Yes. Well, and unfortunately, I guess he didn't get to see the pre-show. So maybe I'll have to look it up one time. So we had only really like our Frozen lightning we had booked at some point. So we were able to get Frozen. So Test Track was done. Frozen was not. Test Track was actually down when we were on Guardians. So we kind of were watching it in case it like came up as we were walking away that we could like ride it. And it didn't go up until later. And at that point, it was too long. So we kind of took it slow. We were trying to meet up with the rest of the group. So my sister-in-law and nephew ended up using their bonus lightning lane to ride Remy's again. So they had at some point gone over to France while we were riding Guardians, and they were sort of making their way back. So we met up in Germany. All the guys got a beer. We grabbed a table kind of like on the jet. There's like a pier sort of thing. So we found a table there. decided that we wanted the shaved ice from the Kabuki Cafe in Japan. It's like a stand. So we were like, we'll just walk over there and bring it back because you guys have a table. So I walked over, my sister-in-law and Nana walked over. We all got, our shaved ice, walked it back. So we were like sitting at that table for over an hour, just sort of like relaxing. There was a little boy that came and sat at our table and made friends with the kids. So we were talking to their family and it was nice. And then when we were decided we were ready to get moving again, we were going to go use our frozen lightning lane. I think some people had to go to the bathroom, so I was kind of just standing there and I was like, I've never tried the school bread from the Norway like bakery. So I was like, do you want some? Like to my husband, like, let's just go through. And he's like, okay. And I let him look at the menu and he's like, yeah, just get the school bread if everyone says it's good. And it was very good. We really liked it. We let everyone just like try a little piece. So that's one of the things that, at least for me, it lives up to the hype.
Mhm.
Then we got into our frozen lightning lane. The standby for that was 65 minutes and we got on pretty quick. Oh, I remember, so in the Magic Kingdom day when my 12-year-old nephew stayed, the other ride that they rode was Pirates. And he was not told that there was a drop and it kind of scared him. So he was willing to ride Frozen, but his dad was like, can you tell him exactly when the drop is? So I like explained the ride to him. I'm like, Elsa's gonna wave her arms, you're going to go backwards a little bit, and then you're going to keep going backwards, and then you're going to drop. So like he knew what was happening, and he was fine knowing. So again, like sometimes you just have to know, I guess, when it's happening.
Mhm. I feel like that's the kind of personality that likes the plan too. Like, what's our trip plan? What are we doing? I need to know what to expect. And some people
Yeah,
like to be surprised.
right. Yeah, and sometimes your mother-in-law is like, "No, I'm not telling you. You have to be
Mm,
surprised."
mhm.
Yeah, so we did that, and then it was 7:30 or so. So we were like, okay, we have 9 o'clock is, fireworks. So we were like, all right, we have time. Let's do the Grand Fiesta Tour. That was like a complete walk on. You just got on the little boat. We did that. And then we were like, all right, we need to get dinner and get a spot for Luminous. And the kind of plan was like, okay, we're going to park some strollers. That'll kind of save our spot. It was like right front of Mexico, kind of as you go back towards like where World Showcase like ends. And we had plans to go to like the Mexico quick service and then across from it you can get like margaritas. So a lot of people wanted like frozen margaritas. I ended up getting a really good margarita with like a popsicle in it. It has like tahini on the rim. So we were getting that food. We got that, like the drinks were secured. And then like it was getting really dark. There was like lightning. We were looking on the radar, like there was a huge storm coming. And we're like, we cannot be standing out here. Like it was kind of scary. Like we felt like we weren't safe to just like stand and like huddle under our umbrella. Like we were like, we really need to get inside. It looked really scary. So we told the people who were in line at the quick service, like, we're going to go. Originally, we were going to go sit in the land, and we ended up going to Connections because as we were walking, I thought, like, I think the food is more what we want there because not everyone had their food now. So we were like, ran over there. We sat down, kind of all like swapped food. Like I don't know, some people had food and some people didn't like their food and they gave it to other people. Everyone else got food at Connections. My kids got pizza and then I got a gelato milkshake for them to drink because they had seen our margaritas and they wanted a special drink. And that was like the most special drink I guess they had. They didn't really have anything like colorful and fun at Connections, but they had the gelato milkshake, so I got that. And Maul wanted one too, so we got her that. And we had in our 2022 trip waited and waited and waited in the land pavilion, hoping that we could see Luminous, and like it never happened. So I think kind of with that in the back of our mind, we're like, we're just going to leave. So we waited till the rain slowed down and we left. And we're like, the fireworks probably aren't happening. And then, of course, as we were driving, like, I wish we didn't see this. It was 9:39 and we could see the fireworks. Like, we could see the fireworks. So they did put it on, but we had already left. So it ends up that Fantasmic is the only fireworks show we saw this trip. But if we only had to see one, like that, that was, at least for me, that's the one I wanted to see. So could not be too upset. And again, like I think it was still raining, so we would have gotten wet.
Yeah.
So it happened.
There's a price to pay for sitting out there and watching Luminous. Okay. All right. So that's the end of your Wednesday, right?
Yes,
And then you had one more full park day, which was Thursday, August 6th. You had plans at Animal Kingdom.
yes. So Animal Kingdom, again, we had left early the night before. We said, all right, we'll try to rope drop this because I had said in the pre-trip we did not get, did not purchase lightning lanes for this day. Just with what we thought we would ride, we didn't think it was going to be worth it. So we ended up getting into the park, kind of like through everything right at 7:28. So like 2 minutes before early entry. And then like at that point we were kind of like scanning our bands that we were, you know, resort guests as we headed over to Flight of Passage. So we got, we're like, all right, if we're gonna ride it, this is when we should ride it. So we did the group did wait 45 minutes for that. We you had to wait in line to get to rider swap. We had asked at the front, and they said, keep going, and then they'll pull you aside. We didn't quite, if we had thought about, if we had known what we knew later, we would have pretended we were like two different groups because we were like one group, like me and my sister-in-law both weren't going to ride because we were going to both wait with the little ones. Maul also wasn't riding, so we like kind of didn't have to do it, but we were trying to leave the opportunity that like two of the kids, like my nephew and my 5-year-old, could ride again. So that was our plan, like two people, and then like they get two guests, right? But because I guess, and I looked up the rules later at some point, it said like up to two people can ride again. So we were two people. We had a buddy. It just wasn't one of the kids like we wanted. So we kind of realized afterwards, and we're like, we'll see what we can do later, and it's fine. So while they were waiting, I had texted and said, "Does anyone want the ube cold brew coffee?" Again, like something I'd heard people really like. I'm not a coffee drinker, but my husband is. So I mobile ordered those while we were waiting. We did take my 2-year-old to like there's like some rocks that make music, like you can drum on them and stuff. So it took a while for me to find them because I knew they were there. I had done it before when we were waiting again for Flight of Passage. So we found those. We did those for a little bit, got the drinks. My son came off of Avatar. He really liked it. He wanted to go back in the gift shop to spend more of his gift card money. And he got his second battle item. He got Natiri's bow and arrow, and they would not, he paid for it. He was kind of by himself, and the cast member turned to me and said, "We don't open these in the park." And he turned to my son, "We want to be safe for the animals." So I was very appreciative that like the cast member was the one relaying this to him. So I could say like, "Hey, I can't open it. They told me, we have to be safe for the animals. So they will not open your bow and arrow." So at that point, it was still pretty early, and we didn't have lightning lanes. I was like, I want to get over to the safari. I don't really want to take the time to ride Flight of Passage with our rider swap. So we, confirmed that we could use it later. I think they had said like, you can't book another rider swap until you use the first rider swap. Like that was the only stipulation. We're like, all right, I don't think we're going to use another one, so that's fine. So we walked over to Safari. It was a 20-minute standby wait at 8:58 a.m. And we waited about that much time. That one's nice. You can push your stroller until pretty much you get onto the part where they kind of ask you how many are in your group. So that was nice. And we had our tour on the safari. there was a one when we're in the giraffe area, we had a point where a giraffe crossed behind our vehicle and a zebra was crossing in front. Like at the same time, so we had to stop. So that was really like we were so close to both of them. So that was really cool. We saw the baby giraffe, we saw the baby elephant, we saw lions. Like it was a really good safari.
Good.
Um, all right, so then we got off that and we I had told the group, we're going to go do Bluey. I understand if you don't want to. I kind of suggested to them if they didn't do it to do the Lion King show, and I was okay with skipping that, but everyone ended up just coming with us. So we took the Wildlife Express train. This is new for us. Like I know Bluey is new in general, but we've just never taken the train. And so that it was a nice little ride. We kind of counted it as the train because we missed it at Magic Kingdom. We're like, at least we got, my little 2-year-old on a train. Got off that, you walk up and there's the Wilderness Explorers. They got books for that. There's a lot of badges that you can get like right as you get off. And then you start seeing the like photo ops with Bluey, like the little, like there's like pictures of Bluey and all of Bluey's family and stuff. And my kids like loved that. They kept saying, "Take my picture, take my picture." So I almost was like, if we don't even do the actual like Bluey experience, this is worth it. Like they are just so excited that like they can see Bluey. So we we held everyone back because we were like taking every single time. Like, okay. And then my sons had to switch places, and one had to be near Bingo, one had to be near Bluey. So we have tons of pictures of them. I'll make sure I include those with the photos I send. So we got there, up to the top, and we ended up only waiting, I think it was like 7 to 10 minutes for Bluey, and we were like far enough back that they weren't seeing what was going on. They just sat on the ground and they filled out some of their like Wilderness Explorer stuff so that when they were ready to get I mean, they give you the badges kind of no matter what, but they like, did the thing about like recycling and whatever. They filled everything out so they were ready later. And then we did Bluey and they really liked it. My son said his favorite game was Keepy Uppy, which is like a classic, but they also, I don't know if they do the same games every time. They make it seem like it's random because they do have cards, but they did another game where they release all of these balls that are different colors and said they're baby birds and they have to find their nests. You have to find the right ones. So the little kids really like that. I mean, they were not matching the colors correctly, but the cast members would just like hand it to an older kid if they did the wrong color. So
Mm.
it was cute. Everyone there was very into it. We left that and kind of stayed in that building, and there was 2 more Wilderness Explorer badges to get. So we made sure we got those, and then we just happened upon the like surgery room, and there was a gorilla getting surgery that day, like not a checkup, in actual surgery. Like she had a cut, I think, kind of like on her rear. And they had, the cast member who was doing the Wilderness Explorer badges was showing us like you can go up and look. You can also like see more directly on the camera. So that was like very cool. Again, like we had never been up there, so we never had the opportunity to see it, but that was something like I thought would be worth like going up for. And we just happened to be so lucky that, I mean, they were even telling us like this is not an everyday thing. There was a cast member there who told me that he said, like, do you come a lot? Because if you come, it's always in the morning. They do not do anything on Wednesdays. Go up on a Wednesday. This was a Thursday. They're not there on Wednesdays. And he again noted, he's like, getting a real surgery is rare. So that was really cool.
That is cool.
Yeah.
I in all the years I've been going, I don't think I've ever caused surgery.
Yeah. So I mean, we were up there for about an hour and a half between, train to train. So it was well worth it. I'll go up there again, I think, just because, you never know what you're gonna see now.
Mm,
Oh, we also, before we left, you could walk through an enclosure with wallabies and kangaroos. So
mm.
they kind of guide you through, and there's someone explaining things to you. So we did that as well. And my 2-year-old bought a stuffed Bluey. That was very helpful on the car ride home because we
Good.
would play Bluey music and he would hold Bluey. So it was raining as we got off the train. This was about 11:30, and we were hungry. And I also noted as soon as we got up there, I was kind of hungry, and I don't think there's any food. So don't go up there if you're gonna be hungry. And again, I think we stayed a little longer than we thought we would. So I wish we had, like, grabbed a snack, but we got off, it was raining, we were hungry, and we did not really have a plan. We were doing Hoop-Dee-Doo that night, so we already were gonna have barbecue, which was, like, sort of our that barbecue quick service is sort of our default at Animal Kingdom. So I got everyone under some cover at Harambe Market. There was not a table, and my 5-year-old was very upset, hungry and upset. So I'm like, "I'm just gonna push him in the rain. We're gonna go to the Yak and Yeti, like, cafe to look for food there." So I think my sister-in-law and her family kind of followed us. Everyone else stayed there. We were, like, kinda calling back and forth in the rain, like, I was trying to talk to my husband on my Apple Watch to, like, not get things too wet. There was also no tables at Yak and Yeti cafe, so I just sort of got in line. By then, the rain kinda calmed down, and then I got a call that they had a table. Some of the less adventurous eaters had looked up the menu and decided they would rather have food at Harambe Market, so they had ordered their food. They fed my 2-year-old some french fries to keep him happy. We got our food. We cheered up my 5-year-old by well, he bought himself with his gift card the panda souvenir cup. His elementary school's mascot is a panda, so, I felt like that's why he wanted it, and I said, "Sure, you can have it. Use your gift card." So that cheered him up. So we were all together eating. I mean, this whole thing probably took, like, an hour, so at, like, 12:35, about an hour if we got off the train, everyone had mostly finished eating, and there was another storm coming. And so I was like, "We can make it to Nemo, but we need to go now because just like with the Little Mermaid show a few days before, I think everyone's gonna have this idea, like, let's go to Nemo." So we just quick cleaned up, and at 12:48, we were waiting, like, inside sitting for the 1 p.m. Nemo show. So we made it. I mean, it seemed pretty full, but I think it's always pretty full, so I don't really know what happened with everyone else, but we made it. We watched the show, it's a 25-minute show. We had seen it before. I don't think everyone else had seen it before. I mean, it's in the AC, it's nice, and we're not getting rained on, so I was proud of us that we made use of our time and we were doing something. So we got out of that, you know, 25-minute show, we got out about half hour later, it was still raining. We I think Everest was down at this time. That was kinda like the other ride that we still wanted to do. So we ended up just going to meet Mickey and Minnie at the outpost. When we left Nemo, I think it was like a 10-minute wait. By the time we got there, it was a 35-minute wait. But again, it was raining. And we're like, well, we just need somewhere to wait. So we waited for that. We all got a group picture. And I think, when you're a big group, you can't resist the matching shirts. So we all had these like matching camper Disney Mickey and Minnie, or some people just had Mickey shirts that my sister-in-law, like, we weren't going to do matching shirts because we had been there, done that in 2022. We had booked our lightning lanes. We were on the phone one morning and we had matching shirts for the little boys. And that morning, like, again, 7 days before our trip, we ordered everyone else shirts. So couldn't resist it. So we got a picture with our matching shirts. Did wait the whole 35 minutes. And then we decided we were going to go back and use the Avatar rider swap lightning lane that we have. My 12-year-old nephew did not like it, so he did not want to ride again. But my 5-year-old did want to ride again. And so I just went up to the cast member and I just said, like, I know we don't really get a guest, but our intention, like, we had told him that he could ride again because that's how we thought the rider swap worked. And she's like, "Did you use your rider swap?" And I said, "No, no, no, I didn't use it." So she just, like, loaded him with one because you do have to tap twice, and they let us through. So that was very nice of them. They definitely didn't have to. Like I said, if I think we had known, we would just been 2 separate groups, so we would have gotten each one, someone else to ride with us, but it worked out. He was able to ride again. My sister-in-law was a little bit nervous. I told her, I was like, if you don't like it, just close your eyes. But she loved it. Like she was smiling. I looked over and really enjoyed it. So we successfully did that. And then we saw that Everest was up, was not that long of a wait. So we walked over there and the wait had, I don't know what it was when we left, but it had jumped up to 45 minutes. And we had a 6:15 Hoop-Dee-Doo. And we were kind of like doing the math. I think it was like around 4:15. And I had thought we should be in our cars by 5 to get back. And we're just like, it's not worth risking it. So we did not do Everest, which was a little disappointing for some of us, including me. But it ended up, you know, who knows, it would have been the right call, but we didn't want to risk it. We had Hoop-Dee-Doo. So we went back in our cars. Everyone got freshened up, got dry clothes if they wanted. I think some people took showers, and we took the bus over to the area that the Hoop-Dee-Doo is at. They do ask you to be there about 30 minutes early. It was raining again, so luckily we were under like the covered area. So they let you in right at 6:15. The salad and the cornbread's already on your table, so you can start eating, and then the show starts. It was very, very entertaining. They have swivel seats, so we let everyone else sit where they didn't have to swivel, but my kids have, well, my older son has seen it before, and we've seen it, but they were able to swivel. Like my kids swiveled. My 2-year-old was like just clapping along like the whole time. He's just clapping, 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 clapping. My 5-year-old was just like laughing at everything. I was like, I don't know how much. It's not like a kids show, but it is
Mm.
funny. But I think he really enjoyed it. The character, they asked about birthdays, and my son's birthday is like the next week. It's this week. So we said it was his birthday, and then like the character Dolly had come to our table, and my father-in-law was kind of saying, "Oh, like her birthday's in his wife, her birthday's in September." And she's like, "Oh, that's tomorrow." So then we were like, "Well, my brother-in-law's birthday, was last month." So she's like, "Yeah, that was yesterday." And then somehow I guess they asked with the birthdays like where you're from. So we said we were from Pennsylvania. Someone said something about the Philadelphia Eagles, the football team. And then my father-in-law is like, but pointing to my brother-in-law, he's a Cowboys fan, he is. And I guess Dolly must also be an Eagles fan. So she's like, Cowboys, why? He's just like, just cause. She's like, oh, you're one of those. What's your name? And he says, Josh. She's like, I'm going to remember you, Josh. So later in the show, she's doing like her little dance with where she like shakes her hips, and she does one really big one, and she pauses. And I'm recording at this point because my son was laughing. And I wanted to capture this. And she says, this one's for you, something like, this one's for you. Happy birthday, Josh. And so I got him on camera just like covering his face laughing. It was just so funny. And
Is that a rivalry between the Eagles and the Cowboys? Because I feel
yes,
like Kylie Kelsey's kind of known for her hate of the Cowboys too.
yes. Yeah, they're all in the NFC East. And I mean
Mhm.
he lives in Pennsylvania with us, so it is, I don't know. It's funny even within our own family that we have this like
Yes.
these two rival teams.
Mhm.
So it was very fun. Everyone really enjoyed it. The only thing I noticed, I had to leave to change my son's diaper, which you do have to go to the bathrooms. It wasn't even the fact that the bathrooms were far away. I just felt like I felt like I was very quick, but by the time I came back, the food had been served, and I felt like they were starting to like clear it already. So I felt like I had to eat like the main course pretty quickly, and then they're clearing it for dessert. So they do spread out the meal, which is nice. Like you don't feel like you're missing the show ever. But I don't know. I felt like just in that maybe 10 minutes max I was gone. I felt like I had to rush. I'm sure I could have said like, "Oh, please don't take the food away," but I still was full at the end, so it wasn't that big of a deal. But I will note like they do start clearing the food, so maybe just like if you know you're going to eat something, pile it on your plate. Yeah. And again, it was raining. So we did not we thought maybe we'd do the campfire. We weren't sure if it was happening. So we just headed back to the campground.
All right. The rain's really factoring in here. It's so funny because we have
Mhm.
some trip reports where there's like almost no rain, and this one is like a lot of rain.
Yeah.
So, all right. The next day was Friday, August 7th, and it was another non park day for most people.
Yes. So that my sister-in-law and her son were doing the Mickey and Minnie's Not So Scary, or I don't know if it's Mickey, whatever, Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween party. And she ended up deciding that day she was also going to take her 1-year-old just for the pictures, and they weren't planning on doing any big rides. So we woke up, it was wet and cloudy in the morning. This was sort of like a camping problem. The humidity was not clearing out of our camper. We had a sensor, it was 89, 90% humidity in the camper. And we started, there was just water on the walls. And I think a lot of it was the humidity plus the fact that our camper was actually doing a really good job keeping up with the AC, but that meant there was such a temperature discrepancy between the two. So we were wiping down the walls. And my husband ended up going out to Walmart and getting a dehumidifier. It took a while to work, but it ended up working. So we all right, so we all I just wanted to note that about the humidity, that was just sort of a
Yeah. I
camping thing, and
just,
we never experienced it before. I guess we never really camped much in the South. I think we heard later from some other people that that's been that you just need a dehumidifier basically, but we didn't have
yeah, I
one.
was going to say, I feel like that maybe that's a common issue in that climate, but I wouldn't have thought to bring in a dehumidifier
Right.
either.
And another reason my husband ended up going out that morning is that he had gotten an alert from OnStar in the middle of the night that his one truck tire had lost 30 pounds of pressure of PSI. So he went to a gas station, filled it up. It seemed to be holding. So he thought, it's all fine and we're good. My mother-in-law and Ma ended up doing more laundry for us. They did have to wait a little bit for some washers this time just because there's I think another family doing a big road trip and they were using all the washers. But they were I mean they came right when their last washer was done, so they didn't really keep us waiting too long. We were about to go to the pool at 11 a.m. It started raining, so we waited a little bit. We went to the pool later when it stopped raining. We were there for about 45 minutes and then we saw thunder and or heard thunder and saw lightning. And again, I know we just didn't feel safe being in a pool. I don't think until at least as long as we were there, they didn't close it, but we told the kids, we have to leave. We have to go back. You can come back later. And at least my nephew got to go to the pool for a little bit before the Halloween party. We also really tried to get my 2-year-old to go down the slide because my older son did the slide, but he was a couple months older for the first time he did it. And, you know, little brother never went on the slide. He walked up a lot of times and never went down.
Maybe next time.
Yeah, maybe next time. We walked back. Again, not everyone had come to the pool with us. And I walked back, and my mother in law was like, "Your truck has a nail in the tire. We're going to go try to get it fixed." So I forgot to mention my brother in law had gone to the Disney, on property, car center. And they had, ended up being his valve stem. So it wasn't actually a hole in his tire that made his camper tire flat. It was the valve stem. So they were able to fix that, but you have to take off the tire to do that. So they were able to just swap out his tires or fix it. I don't know exactly which they did. So first, again, my mother and father-in-law were very nice. They're like, "You guys stay here with the kids. We'll take care of your truck." And they got there. They could not patch the tire. The tread was too low, which we kind of knew. We were planning on getting new tires for the truck at the end of the year, and they didn't have truck tires, that big of tires in stock. They said call dealerships. We called tons of dealerships. No one had them in that day. And we were so bummed because we hadn't driven the truck all week. So we were like, "Oh, if we only had noticed sooner,
Mhm.
this wouldn't have been such a rush." But we needed the tires. We were leaving the next day. And they ended up going, I think, to a discount tires, but they were gone for 5 or 6 hours. So we ended up getting new truck tires. I won't include that in the price, but it was just under like $2,000. So again, we knew we were going to have to spend that later this year, but we weren't expecting to do it at Disney.
Yeah, that's such a bummer. Yeah, there's so many different, like, car sort of related things.
I know we had like, well, we're not done. There's one more.
Wow.
So yeah, at this point we had trouble with, I guess, technically one tire. We had to replace all four tires and then the camper tire. So we, you know, again, very nice of them. They went and handled all that for us. So we decided at 3:45 that we were going to go to the ranch and kind of walk up with my sister-in-law and her kids who were going to go take the boat to Magic Kingdom. I think originally she was gonna go to the ranch with us. She kind of waffled back and forth. They really wanted to meet Jack and Sally. She wasn't sure, like, what the best plan was. It made her a little nervous that it was the first night and that she
Mhm.
knew a lot of people would be there, trying to get content, and, she was trying to think, like, "Are they gonna wanna see the parade? Are they gonna see the first parade to be earlier?" Like, it was like a whole mental game. Like, I mean, it was all speculation too. So we did the Tri-Circle D Ranch, and she just by the time we got there, she decided she wasn't gonna do it. And I have my son here. Do you wanna tell them what did you do at the ranch? What did you get to do?
Ride a horse.
Ride a pony. Yeah. So he, saw there. Luckily, my 2-year-old was asleep because you have to be 3 to do it. So he did 2 laps on a pony ride. My husband nicely volunteered to do it because it was very hot. You have to have somebody in your party walk them around. The cast member doesn't do it. So we did that, and I think in the past we had I mean, it was like an hour before they closed. So in the past, we had somebody kind of talk to us about the horses and say, like, what they've done, like, what their experiences at Disney, what parades they've been in. They talked to us about how they, like, sell the horses, like, they have a very strict process for who they let buy the horses, but no one was there to, like, explain things to us, which was a little disappointing. We did get to see some horses being brushed to get ready to be ridden. S Yeah, and they put, like, the harnesses on and everything.
I feel like on this day, it would have been fun if they said, "This is the Headless Horseman."
Right, yeah, and I do remember them saying that before, so,
Mhm.
they do have, like, I think it's like 6 stalls up front, and they'll put, like, nameplates for who those horses are, and then there's I think there was, like, a little kids activity guide. I think they said there was, like, 90 plus horses, like, somewhere between 90 and 100 horses that they have there, so the rest are back there, and I guess they get to rotate who gets to be on display.
Mm.
So we left that, and there was Mickey tie-dye this day. So we went and did shirts. My sister-in-law wanted us to do shirts for her 2 kids. That was $17 each, so more than the $1 button, but, you get a shirt. The smallest size they have is a youth extra small, so the 2 little ones will just have to grow into theirs. We had our dinner. We went back to the pool, and it was, like, maybe a 45 minutes before 8 o'clock. I asked at 8 o'clock, "Does anyone wanna go to the Chippendale campfire?" They didn't wanna leave the pool. So we just stayed there to thank my mother and father-in-law. We bought them and anyone else who wanted one, the Mickey ice cream sandwiches. My husband says they're really good because they put cookies and cream ice cream inside, which is not like the standard. So Disney does do it better there.
It's my
Mm.
favorite ice cream.
It's your favorite ice cream, my 5-year-old says. Okay, good. You had one too, right? Mhm. And then, we had to leave the next morning, so we called it a night. I will kinda give a report of what my sister-in-law thought of the Halloween party. She said she didn't feel like she followed her plan. She said she would for sure do it again, and they did do a lot. They did get to meet Jack and Sally. I think they waited till after the first parade and show, and then maybe did it during, like, the next one, and she said she only waited 20 minutes.
Mm.
So she did not do it right at the beginning. They were able to meet them. They only waited 20 minutes. They did Haunted Mansion twice. She did lots of the, like, photo spots. But, yeah, she said she would do it again.
Good.
So, that was good.
I always worry about when people go with little ones because it's such a late party and
Yeah,
it may or may not feel like it's worth it.
yeah.
All right. So the next 2 days were driving, right? So Saturday, August 8th, you were starting your drive home with brand new tires.
Yes. And I'm gonna just go through this fast because I don't really wanna relive all these days, but, we left at 6:50 on Saturday, August 8th. Oh, one quick thing I wanna mention. So, that night before, I had lost my Apple Watch the first time we were at the pool, and we left really quickly, and we can track it. So, we kind of were my husband was walking, tracking it. He thought it was on a golf cart because of how fast it was moving, and he couldn't catch it. So, we ended up calling realizing you can't call the front desk, they said, "You need to go to the front desk." So we went to the front desk and a very nice cast member there. At first, she's like, "How do you know a cast member has it?" Husband was like, "I was following their golf cart, and, like, I could tell by the way the golf cart looked that it was one of yours." And so she looked and she's like, "That's weird. I think normally they expect, like, everyone to turn in things pretty quickly, but I guess this cast member hadn't been able to, like, drop it off yet." But she was very nice, called somebody. She asked me to describe it. They had it. She said, "If you don't mind waiting, once he has a chance, he'll bring it to us." And I said, We don't mind waiting because we're leaving the next day. I'd rather just have it than I did file a lost and found report, but I said I'd rather just have it." And we waited a little bit and they brought it. So I gave her a cast compliment. I wish I could have given a cast compliment to whoever it was who, drove it all the way up for us.
Mhm.
And she did. She's like, "Can you ping it?" And it was in her hand. I didn't realize it was in her hand, but I guess she wanted to verify it was mine. So anyway, that was very good. So we did not have that to deal with. And we had told them we were leaving at she's like, "When are they leaving in the morning?" I said 6:30. She's like, "Yeah, let's try to get it now." So that was great. So we left at 6:50. Our first stop, it started like pouring rain. So we were driving in this like pouring rain for basically the next 3 hours. We stopped. My husband was like, "I feel sick." Luckily, not everyone can pull a camper. Like, I cannot pull the camper. Luckily, my father-in-law also has a camper,
Mhm.
and he was able to switch with him, and so they drove. We also found out, or I found out at this time, that my brother-in-law was sick the night before, that he was sick in the camper, had probably only slept an hour. He was kind of hoping that he could have the backup camper driver, but my husband needed it at the time. So anyway, he ended up being sick, ended up spiking a fever, maybe the same thing my son had, who knows? But he was also had upset stomach, which my son didn't have those symptoms. Probably just caught the Disney bug. We had to set up at we stopped at Lumberton KOA in North Carolina. Realized when we got there, another camper tire on my brother-in-law's camper was flat. Same issue with the valve stem. We had like a mobile person come and fix it. They took a while to show up. So, they had to stay up a little bit late. I think that guy left at like 10 a.m. or 10 p.m. So, late night, we went to bed, decided that we weren't going to rush in the morning. We left at 9:45 on Sunday, August 9th. The campground had free breakfast. So we did that. My husband thought he could drive, or thought he was okay. So he still had my father-in-law drive, and he was sort of still being like co-pilot, giving directions. He had taken medicine in the morning. I think it wore off. And then he was really sick. He like really couldn't even like stand, had to get more medicine in him. And once his fever came back down, he did feel better. But I mean, it was just like drive a couple hours, get gas, drive a couple hours, get gas. And we ended up getting home around 8:45. So I think that was like an 11-hour total travel day with all the stops. Yeah, and it was night. So we were definitely glad to be home. Glad we didn't have any more tire issues than we already did because we had plenty.
Yes. And that was last night.
And that was last night. So today we're off work. We had to like empty out the camper and clean it up.
Mm.
But since I was off, I figured we'll just record the podcast.
Yeah,
While it's all fresh.
exactly. Yeah. So some ups and downs.
Mm-hmm.
Well, ups and downs. I did have a note to ask you about the overall budget during the post trip.
Yeah. All right. So just because I know it might be confusing with like kind of what we paid for, everyone pretty much paid for like their own food and, park tickets. We did have a package, but we split it out with my in-laws. But I'm going to give the price as if it was like my family, like if we didn't have anyone else, we would still have paid for like the whole campsite, but then just our tickets and our lightning lanes. So our whole trip was 4,000. $965. So that includes 958 of that is the Fort Wilderness. I did break it out. We got the 4 days for parks deal. So we only paid for 3 of our tickets because we do have a 2-year-old. So that was $1,397. Lightning lanes for the 3 days were 285. Yeah. Next year we'll have to pay for the 2-year-old. $285 for lightning lanes. Food, including like food while we were traveling and in the parks, was $1,301. And then gas pulling the camper was a whopping $851. I did keep track of how much my car spent. My in-laws paid for the gas there since so they were paying. That was about $600 less. So just because we were pulling a camper that was getting, 10 miles per gallon, if you drive a car, my car was getting 28 miles per gallon, you could have spent about $250. And then we had to pay for 2 nights at the KOA campgrounds on the way down and back, and that was $172 total.
And I can't remember, do you, this isn't your first time doing Fort Wilderness. Have you also flown and stayed at Disney World before?
We have not. We've since gone not to the campground, but we've also driven those times. The very first trip, my sister-in-law and her family did fly and stay in a cabin, though. My brother, so again, it's not for everybody. My brother-in-law says he will not drive his camper down again. It was just a lot. I mean, a lot went wrong too, which could happen, at any time, but he hasn't made those like long drives before. So yeah, I think if you're not used to it, if you're used to like local camping, it is a lot. It's stressful. It was extra stressful when we thought like we might lose all of our drivers to sickness. Like we would have been stranded. So we were lucky that we had a backup, but yeah, he said he's not going to go again. I noted we listened to 16 episodes of the Brains On podcast. So that was good. I think, yeah, on the way back, it was just a free-for-all. If the kids wanted a phone to watch a show, we just gave it to them. We were just trying to keep going. But on the way down, they did pretty well. My 5-year-old, he invented a quiz game where we have to guess, like we pick a category, we have to guess his like ranking of like his favorite candies or his favorite rides. So, I mean, I even learned something. I didn't know his favorite candy was Tootsie Pop or Tootsie Rolls. Do you want to say your top rides, Lyndon? What's your number one favorite ride? Tower of Terror. So yeah, that's say number one. I was trying to think anything else with the drive. I think again, like these things could happen. The tires could have happened on a car, even if you weren't pulling a camper. But I think it was just extra stressful with the camper. It's like also your. Okay, can you be quiet? It's also like your home. So and we couldn't just leave it there and go home and stay in a hotel because then our camper would be in Florida. So a little bit of extra stress there. I think slowly through, like I think by like Friday when we realized our tires were done, I'm like, we're not doing this for a while. Like I think we need a break. And I think by the time my husband got sick, he said the same thing. Like not saying never, but like we need a break. So
Yeah. There's a lot because you have 2 young kids, you have the dogs, you're responsible for most of the planning for the group. It's like a lot to think about.
Right. Yeah.
So that makes sense.
Yeah, there's a lot of pros. I mean, you can bring a lot of your own stuff, like more than you would in a car. So you can cook a lot of meals yourself, but you can also do that if you stay in deluxe with the kitchen too. So
And you can decide up until the last minute who's even going on the trip if you want.
true. Yes, we did add, great grandma last minute, and we did kind of gift to her as a Christmas present to also give her less reason to say no. We just really wanted her to come, and she's a she's retired, but she's a youthful mid-70-year-old, so she could definitely keep up.
Yeah. All right. Well, I appreciate you taking the time to share just like the next day after, getting back from kind of a stressful ending. So,
Yeah, no
all right.
problem.
All right. Thanks, Alicia.
Thanks.
I hope you enjoyed my conversations with Alicia. Alicia maybe even learned a couple of things. I always make notes during these recordings of new things that popped up for me. So maybe there's some of those for you. We did keep talking on Patreon. And Alicia surprised me by telling me that they actually are DVC owners. And so we talked about that and upcoming travel plans and all that sort of thing. So that's up on Patreon now in video and audio form. I think that'll wrap up this episode of WDW Prep to Go. For more information, please check the show notes in your podcast app or head to the website, wdwprepschool.com. Click on podcast at the top, scroll down to episode 527. Until next time, I'll see you on the site.